Hello and welcome back to the WOR Ironman League. I am Gareth Allen. Alongside me tonight, welcome back, Lewis McGlade. How are you?
I am well. I'm glad to be back. Obviously missed Singapore last time, but it was a lot of fun. I did manage to check out a fair amount of it. Obviously, as always with the Ironman League, crazy race. You and Scott did a great job.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with Scott, and it was a bonkers end to the race, certainly with Otis Lawrence and Thomas Vonhaar having handbags at dawn, really getting into each other. VODs deleted, I can confirm, with those ones. That's how furious they actually got. So it was a bit hairy and scary at times, but it gave a massive win to Istvan Pukki, who was like 8 seconds away from the lead of the race. Absolutely go back and watch it if you haven't watched it already. And you're tuning in for the first time to the Ironman League tonight. We are at a track we don't know about. It's a mystery Grand Prix system. We have a set selection of tracks that it can be. We'll go through those in just a moment. And it is a 100% race with a reverse championship order. Now, I think I will quickly just go to that championship and we can go and look at the standings. And of course, it's a teams championship here. 2 different teams championships, pro teams and amateur teams. Sometimes I'll call them challenger teams as well, because it feels a bit unfair to call these guys amateurs. But it's Istvan Pukki and Danny Berezny's Ferrari, who are in the lead of this championship, 72 points to 42 of Otis Lawrence and Lucas Blakely, neither of who are actually racing today. And it's 2 third places from Benche Sabo Konye, who have really given Haas the points in this championship to be in P3. P4 is Thomas Vonhaar and Brendan Lee. Thomas Vonhaar, of course, losing out big time in the last few stages, ended up being 4th for the podium. First place was almost set for him at one point. He's also on 34 points, and it is 17 points for the reigning champions, Mercedes, Milan, Maya, and Shanaka Clay, just not hooking it together so far. Actually, Shanaka Clay DNFing from the first race. And looking at the amateur championship, it's Zolt Timbus who has 54 points with Red Bull, and Gabor Tiotik, who is alongside him. He's not picked up many points. It's mainly Timbo who has picked up the majority of those points, and of course Zaber Hegelis, who has picked up a massive load of points last week. He was really in fine Vettel, actually, picking up a bonus 6 points for being ahead of 3 pro team drivers. So we're 2 rounds into this championship. You can't really take a read of this championship so far, but lots of drama in these two standings already.
Yeah, for sure. Wasn't it Hegedus who had that big crash coming out of the final corner, literally at the last part of the race at Singapore? I'm pretty sure it was. So it was one of the Aston Martins. I mean, you've got to say right now things are looking really positive for Ferrari, right? Which, to be fair, as much as we say that like Mercedes are the defending champions, because of course it was Danny Berezny and Jarno Opmeer, I almost kind of feel like, if you were going to, as much as it's not, it really is like the Ferrari team in a sense, because of Danny Berezny, that is sort of the champion, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from? So they were coming into this as the favourites. Few teams have lost, in a sense, a lot of points from where they should be, and the Alfa Romeo is really the major one in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alfa Romeo really not being where they should be. Thomas Vonhaar, of course, has only raced 1 time this season. Brendan Lee picking up 2 6th places, and I think it was Zoltan Boda who picked up some points for them at the round 1, which is of course at Spa. We can go over and see what this standings means to our grid, because of course it's a reverse championship, starting with those amateur teams at the front. It will be Tamas Alrutz, who's on pole positions for the 2nd time. It's one of the virtues of being low in the championship, is you have a chance at glory at the start of a race here. You have the commentators speaking over you and being excited about you. So that's one thing about doing badly. I guess, of course, they want to pick up points, and you really don't want to start first overall. But no. It's the Williams in 2nd with Danny Stenogoratsky, who is going to be taking the first person in that team. And it's the person who's contributed the most points to the team who gets the opportunity to start 2nd in that team. So you can see down to 10th position, Zolt Timbus, he has contributed the most points, and nearly all the points to Red Bull. Therefore, he's the person behind, and he's going to be the person who will have all of the pro drivers right behind him. Shanaka Clay and Milan Meyer, of course, Mercedes in 11th and 12th position, and it will be the Ferraris down in 19th and 20th position. So if Danny Berezny wants to get another podium, he will be doing it from the back again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious to see exactly how people like Luke Smith will get on. Like, that's going to be very exciting, of course. Bench Labo Kanye, probably the most, arguably the most consistent driver in the Ironman League. Like, from what I've seen over the last couple of seasons, in the sense of how many podiums he's picked up, still yet to take that all-important victory, though. So you'll have to wait and see. And let's be honest, Danny Berejno from the back of the field. Chances of him taking a victory? Still fairly high. He is pretty good when it comes to it, but of course Ron Huss starting from 13th position, you never really know. And to be fair, I don't think that is doing enough justice to a lot of the amateur team, particularly Shenegorowski, who we distinctly remember went really quite well at Spa until the final few moments, was actually battling really high up. So maybe there'll be some nice sneaky moves. It's a good grid. It is a good grid.
Yeah, Danny Shenegorowski, of course, finished first in class, in that amateur class, but lost it only due to penalties. He was third in the end in that race, in his class. It was something like 13th or 11th, I can't quite remember what actually place he finished in. It gets a little bit muddled with multi-class racing in this F1 game, but it works. It's an interesting concept. Now, what was interesting, you spoke about it, how quickly the people at the back can get to the front. Last week we saw a bit of a delay in it because the actual amateurs worked so well together, stuck in formation, and kept the pros at bay. Now that was because we were at Singapore. The track we're at today, we're not quite sure about yet, and I won't actually announce it until we're actually in the track, because I'd made that mistake last week of getting it all wrong, and I think the first week we got the calendar wrong, so we got the track wrong, sorry. So anyway, I've gone back to standings, which is completely the wrong graphic, but I did want to go over to the calendar, which is this one here. So pro production by myself. But yeah, so the tracks we've done already, Singapore and Spa, so those ones can't be selected anymore. But we do have Red Bull Ring, Imola, Shanghai, Miami, and Melbourne in the mix. And then at some point this season, we're not quite sure when, 2 potential extra tracks will get added, and then there's also the question mark, the figure of 8 circuit. You got to guess which one that is could be selected as well tonight. So out of those tracks that we know are going to be part of tonight's wheel, which track are you excited for? Which track are you not bothered for?
I will say one that has I think it is going to be the circuit, which I was about to point out as one of my least favourite circuits on planet Earth.
Really?
Yeah, Shanghai. Yeah. Cannot stand it. Absolutely cannot stand it.
Okay. Based on what, though? Are you basing this on
personal experience?
Personal experience. Have you been there and had a bad time?
No.
Did the concrete factory fumes get you?
Yeah. No, it's in sim racing. Obviously, I've been in sim racing for a long time. I've raced it a lot of times. I cannot recall a particularly good race at any point. I did, however, once flip Jack Nichols there, so that's my claim to fame.
Okay, yeah, well, you flipped Jack Nichols there. That is a hell of a claim to fame, actually.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy ended up upside down and in the bin. But I'm going to go the complete opposite, and not for the first time tonight. I actually love China. It's one of my favourite tracks to commentate in the game. In real life, bit meh, right? Okay, what races have been good there? 2010, it was wet and interesting. 17 was it? Yeah, with Ricardo going through on the brakes. That was okay. It was a good Ricardo performance. I wouldn't say it was an amazing race. Maybe 2011 with the overtake Hamilton around the outside of turn 7. Yeah, but I think it is going to be China. So let's just say it is going to be China, because we're loading into this lobby now.
It's going to be China.
So it is going to be China. So I have commented some brilliant races here on the game. So actually, one to race, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Very, very twitchy on tyres. Those snails really take it out of the tyres. But actually, one with action, I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, obviously, you got a couple of really winding sections, turn 1 into 2, 3 into 4, where it kind of goes back out the other way. That kind of awkward, almost like chicane into winding, big hairpin, weird thing, going out onto the back stretch, which is incredibly long. Around here, I will say, I will back up. At least there are interesting corners around here, right? It's not a boring track. That's definitely one. And like I say, got a few overtaking opportunities. We'll have to wait and see. I think you're going to have to look after the tyres an awful lot around here if you're going to get through the race as a victor, especially in full distance. Yeah,
100%. The only thing I would say about the game's implementation is the camera angles down the straight are pretty horrendous. For some reason, they optimize looking at the rear wing, because it's DRS open and it's a long straight, but then you miss the overtakes. So bear with us if we have a few camera issues out there today. We aren't in control of that. We are moments away, actually, and we can go over and have a look at the paddock as people prepare. We will be going straight into the race, so we'll be jumping into it at any point with the 2 Alpines on pole. And yeah, it's gonna be certainly interesting, China. I think it's gonna be tough on tyres. I'm not quite sure what strategies will be played out here, but I know it's quite often the harder compounds that are used because of how tough it is on tyres with those 270-degree corners. And yeah, we'll see what kind of weather comes into effect as well. Of course, Ironman League quite often has a weather front rolling.
Yeah, I've not been informed as to what the potential weather-wise we deal with, but I have commentated on a few Ironman League races, and I can tell you right now, not a single one of them has been dry from start to finish. So the expectation is that we're definitely going to get rain at some point, which we've seen plenty of wet races around Shanghai in real life. So who knows? In fact, it wasn't weather; it was smog. I think it was like free practice. Free practice 1 a few years back was delayed or even cancelled because of smog, because they couldn't. It was to do with the medical helicopter.
Yeah, There's a concrete factory actually near the track, and one year they turned it off because it had beautiful blue skies. They turned it off. They stopped the production at this concrete factory. The rest of the years they just let it blow over. That's why it so often looks overcast there. It's actually just concrete dust.
That's nice. Yeah. That's good for the lungs. I mean, it's really good for the lungs.
It's quite often why free practice is quite sketchy around there as well. And it's also built on a swamp that's quite bumpy. That's why Buemi lost his tyres back in 2010 because there was a big bump into the 1014.
Yeah, and what a moment that was! 2 wheels being absolutely exploded off the car. Also, I will say the InSpeed team raced from here in the 24-hour Le Mans Virtual in 2023. Anyway, enjoy.
Well, here we are going to go 5 lights here in the Ironman League for round 3. And when they go out, the Ironmen will go racing in Shanghai. And it looks to be a good start from Chonga, who's immediately got into the lead of the race. And he's going to be battling with the Williams. The Williams have both jumped the Alpine there. And they are really fighting into turn 1. Even Tamas Alroots is going to have to defend from the AlphaTauri. And the AlphaTauri does get ahead. Eisner up into fourth place here. And Hegedus, the man who won in class last week in the amateurs, up and past him as we see him fall down further. Alroots has had an absolute stinker of a start. He's near the back. No, he's down 7.
Whoa, that was a big send down the inside as well from Vincer, I believe. I was going to say, by the way, before the start of the race, I think Shenegratski's got a really good chance of taking over the race lead pretty early in this one as they work through the fast left-hander now into the right-hander where you've got to scrub off some of that speed, bring it down into that speed before you get into this awkward double left-hander. Shinaka Clay making some decent progress up to 7th position already and looking for more.
Yep, and you got to remember those pros are looking to climb through the field. Mercedes driver Shinaka Clay is being able to do it first because he was one of the drivers in that Mercedes team which are at the bottom of the pile in the Pro Championship. So he has first dibs, quickly followed through by Brendan Lee, who's made it up to 9th position as they start to weave across the straight. And there could be a move for first position here as Zeno Goratsky, who had no luck last week, looks to have luck up the inside of Chonga. And the Williams goes into first position as they head through turns 14 and 15 for the first time here, and they're going to head and round out the final corner. It's Williams, Alpine Williams for 1, 2, 3. Eisner's made it up to 4th, Hegedus in 5th, Vince in 6th position, Shinaka Clay leading the pro field down in 7th position, and Brendan Lee has made it past Tietik for 9th as well.
Zoltan Boda and Eric Jandy into the pit lane at the end of the first lap, so clearly having some form of damage. Shenegratski obviously on the medium tyres there. I did see that Boris Jongor is actually on the soft compound tyres, so curious as to what the strategy is there. Maybe just trying to spend the next few laps trying to keep up with the Williams and Shenegratski. As we'll see, Shinaka Clay 6th position now on the back end of Hegedus. There is Brendan Lee in the Alfa Romeo working his way up past David Vince, who had that big send into the hairpin on the previous lap.
Yeah, Hegedus, who was, of course, so strong last week. He was in the top 3 until the mid-20s. He has now got Shinaka Clay right on the back of him. Shinaka Clay, the SRC esports driver, hasn't had much luck in the championship so far to date. That's why Mercedes are right at the bottom of the pile, but he will be looking to make a move down this long straight. Of course, no DOS applied until we head on to lap 3, so it'll be this time next lap when DOS activation will happen for the first time. So this will be all on battery power, as we do see a move from Eisner at the AlphaTauri out of the snail, which is turn 13, but down the straight, the Mercedes are going to pull out the slipstream of the Aston Martin and look to take the inside line here. It's going to be a simple move, a little bit of battery, and position done.
Yeah, smart there for Hagaidas to not fight that one too hard. Let it happen. Gabor Cicic and David Vincer now going side by side, with Gab working his way 8th position now. Ben Charbot-Conny looking for another podium, sat right off the rear end of that. Fastest lap coming the way of literally the entire field. Bam, bam, bam. It will now go the way of Ben Charbot-Conny, which I think will hold. We're going to get 3 wide in the start-finish straight. Wow!
Wow, and Cicic gets that position, maintains it from David Vinci, but Bensi Samuel-Conye up the inside there of turn 1 and 2. That will be the outside of turn 3 and 4. And can the man in 9th get that position from David Vinci? Yes, he can. He gains that position. So the Haas driver up for position, and now it's Thomas Gao looking to go up the inside of turn 6, the hairpin that leads them into the second sector.
Yeah, like I say, there's quite a few little overtaking opportunities around here. You can go down into the hairpin, something into T1. I mean, it was brave there for Ben Charbot-Conny to look to clear David Vincer and Gabor Cicic going down into T1, but thankfully backed out of that one before eventually getting past Vincer. There is the look. Shanaka Clay working his way past the Williams Village, and look at this from Hagaidas. Potentially a bit of Brendan Lee in there as well. He's going to look to the outside and send it on the pair of them. Brendan Lee, 2 for the price of 1.
That is amazing. 3 wide into turn 11. Usually doesn't work, but maximum respect from all the drivers. And Brendan Lee looked to go up the order here and attack Shanaka Clay. He saw Shanaka Clay get by in the midfield. That gave him the opportunity to attack, and he took it straight away. But now there's a little bit of peeking. Does the Haas driver of Charbot-Conny go up the inside of the Red Bull man? He's going to have to go around the outside of the final corner, turn 16, if he wants that position to stick. And quite often that can be contact in the races, and I think one of them is pushed out. Indeed, the Red Bull driver pushed out a little bit there, but Benchi Charbot-Conny up into 8th position, and he is 3rd on the road in that pro class.
I think Cicic actually just overdrove it a little bit into that final corner, allowing Ben Charbot-Conny to get the up and under. Eisner getting past, or Norbert Eisner and Boris Jongor battling it out through that first sector, and Jongor's soft tyres might be going into a little bit of a struggle mode here. He's able to keep up with Jenna Goratsky just a little bit, but it could be the AlphaTauri getting to the outside now, and Norbert Eisner trying to work his way past. The outside's going to go, a little bit of contact between a pair, gets squeezed out just a touch, and runs out onto that AstroTurf. He's getting frustrated a little bit here behind the Alpine. Yeah,
he didn't get any track infractions for extending there, but the Alpine, who started 2nd on the grid, jumped up to the lead before Zeno Goratsky took it off him, is now looking super vulnerable on those soft tyres, and he has a speeding pack of cars right behind. Remember, DRS will be enabled, and he won't be able to be in the activation zone of the car in front, so he's going to be a sitting duck as we head down the straight here, over a kilometre long, as we head to the big braking zone of turn 14, but it will be done truthfully before that. The man in 3rd place, Eisner, will eye him up and take him out, but will Shanaka Clay, who's the man in 4th, have the overspeed to come and challenge him as well? It's going to be maybe a potential chance at position here. He's going to close down, pull out last minute, but he's not going for it. He's going to wait behind. No, he does. He chucks it up on the inside. That's very opportunistic, and now it's going to have to go around the outside of turn 16, 2 wide. The Alpine just drops behind there, knowing it would be certain danger if it ended in tears there.
Yeah, he didn't really want to go down the inside of the hairpin. It was just because of how slow Jongor was going through it comparatively to Shanaka Clay. Brendan Lee also working his way past on the start-finish straight, courtesy of a slow exit from the Alpine. So Shanaka Clay now up in the 3rd position. He was playing it wise there. I mean, I don't know if he was actually using that much battery. You know, when you've got the DRS, you might want to save it just a little bit. He's made up a lot of progress. Look at that in the background, though. It's Hagaidas trying to get to the outside of Boris Jongor, and watch for Ben Charbot-Conny to potentially work his way into the mix. More contact going into the hairpin, and keep your eye on that Haas. How many of these will he check off before we get through onto that really long back stretch?
Yeah, Boris has been super defensive into that corner, planting it into the other cars, and that has allowed Benchi Charbot-Conny, to get through the Aston Martin driver, so he's been able to pick him off because he's had to go on the back foot with how defensive the Alpine driver went. Now through into this final sector, will there be a thought of a move before the DRS activation? No, waiting behind. You do not want to lose DRS down that long straight. It's going to cost you tenths of time, and now the Haas driver will round out this final corner, tricky on traction, but knows the car ahead on those softs, starting to struggle. He'll have better traction out the corner. He'll open up the DRS for good measure, but the car in front also has DRS, so maybe a little bit of battery burn, as there's also position moves at the front of the grid as Brendan Lee and Shanaka Clay go into battle as well. As Benchi Charbot-Conny gets that position, will jump on board. Brendan Lee is now ahead of Shanaka Clay there. He's made a move into P14 and cemented it through P16.
Yeah, Shinaka Clay obviously got past Norbert Eisner, but Brendan Lee cleared the pair of them, so Shinaka Clay remain in the same position that he was, working their way now through turn one. Chenegaratsky 1.1 seconds clear. I do believe Brendan Lee will be able to close back on this. I know there's a lot of Danny Perezhne fans tuning into this. I wouldn't be too worried with the fact that he's been a little bit slower on the progress up the field comparatively to the likes of Shinaka Clay or Brendan Lee. We know what Danny Perezhne's like. He's just timing it well, and we know there's probably going to be a safety car of some description. There's a look to the inside from Tamas Gal, so Boris Jongor will drop back now to 8th position as Danny Perezhne also gets past Bent Illich.
Yep, and Danny Perezhne will next look to line up that Alpine who started in 2nd position, and he'll have to wait and be patient through this middle sector, knowing there's a big opportunity coming down this straight. So a lot of frenetic activity on these opening laps as these pro drivers look to get past the amateur field, and it will be a chance of a move down into turn 14. You could just hear Danny Perezhne lifting off of the pedal there to save a little bit of energy. Doesn't want to fall behind, doesn't want to waste time trying to overtake in an incorrect position. And that Alpine again just struggling so much on those soft tyres. He gambled for maybe an early safety car and it hasn't come his way. The medium tyre Danny Perezhne is going to slide on through, and I think it could be even a move from Benche Ellis, who isn't too far back, but actually these two aren't done with the battle yet, and he's going to be forced to the outside. That would give Benche Ellis maybe the impetus to go and attack him into turn 1 as they round out the final corner. What kind of traction can the Williams driver get?
I'll tell you what, though, as we're watching all this battling, you will notice there's a little bit of cloud coverage coming over. We are, as I'm having a little look, we're expecting rain, with it light rain within the next couple of minutes. So that would explain why quite a few drivers maybe have started on a soft compound tyre. And there it is, yeah, rain's already started. Yeah,
light rain starting here. So this is going to be challenging conditions as all of our drivers actually go past the pits here. None of them are going to be able to dive in. Only the likes of people like the McLaren driver of Zoltan Boda, who has dived into the pit straight away, will have the opportunity to pit earlier. Now, he pitted, of course, because he had a bit of contact with Eric Zandi, who I believe is a late stand-in for Thomas Ronhaar here tonight, and he will have the opportunity to jump onto a fresh pair of intermediates and close down that gap a little bit. But it's going to be a big long way, and hopefully a gamble for him where the rain comes down quick enough. We also see Eric Zandi also pit there.
Yeah, it's obviously not intermediate conditions right now, and I still think that these drivers that have stayed out, it's fine. This is definitely still slick tyre conditions. It's just at the point where you're going to see a very busy pit lane at the end of this one. Obviously, this is very awkward for Tamas Gal, who's right on the rear of the bench. Jarbo Conny, there's a look to the inside from Milan Meyer trying to get past Boris Jongor, who's definitely struggling a little bit with these soft tyres. They've done 6 laps, but they are starting to clearly go off somewhat, as now Meyer will not quite work his way past. I think there's some decent straight line speed in that Alpine. I think pit lane's about to get very busy, Gareth.
Yeah, Milan Meyer and Chonga still battling through turn 14 here, and it could be interesting. Are we going to have people coming to the pits? We have a sea of people coming into the pits, and we'll see who is going to be first to pit. It's Brendan Lee, who's got the lead of the race from Zeno Goratsky, and it's only Istvan Puki who's gone through. So Istvan Puki and Milan Meyer both decided to risk it for an extra lap here, and this will work in their favour if there's a safety car, because I think it's going to be the right tyre to go on at this point.
Yeah, and we're expecting this rain to stay around for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, something in that kind of range. It's not going to be a quick little sprinkle around here. It is going to last for a decent portion of this race. It's just one of those standard things, isn't it? Ironman League, a little bit of rain, just an absolute classic. No safety car yet, though, and like I say, hopefully that kind of remains. Brendan Lee will become our race leader by 1 second as well, so he's actually been able to clear out quite a lot through that pit sequence.
Yeah, he's got a big gap on the Williams driver of Zeno Goratsky in a different class of him as well. So you expect him to be overtaken by Shinaka Clay. And there we are, DRS disabled. That's usually the message that now is the time to be on the intermediate tyres. Most of our field has already made the switch, and the 3 cars who have stayed out would have hoped to have seen that message just slightly later to understand what their lap times would be and whether it be improved. We'll get some second sectors in, but it's about 32 4s for our race leader and 31 2s for the people who have switched over to intermediates. So you can tell already those intermediates are going to be springboarding by, and Puki, Maya and Timbo will be lodged way down the order here as Brendan Lee will take the lead on lap 8 going into lap 9.
give a big shout out to Esteban Pukki, by the way, after a fantastic round last time, playing the absolute team game this time, as we'll see Shinaka Clay get down the inside of Shena Garatsky and up into 5th position, but it will become 2nd as Esteban Pukki, Miller Meyer and Timbo all into the pit lane. Solid move there from the Mercedes driver. But yeah, Pukki was ahead of Danny Berejne, but did not pit, knowing that Berejne would. And so basically taking a bit of a bullet for his teammate there. I respect that.
Yeah, probably eyeing up Danny Berejne as the better person to take a win here, maybe a better chance of winning. But look at this, Shinaka Clay and Sveno Garatsky. They're in 2 different classes, but they're racing each other hard. And Sveno Garatsky will race hard because, of course, every pro driver you're ahead of in the amateur field is an extra 2 points to your team. The Williams driver versus a Mercedes SRC esports driver up the inside of turn 6. Shinaka Clay will have, and will he be able to muscle the Williams driver out? The Williams driver's still there, still fighting, still holding to position. There's a bump between the two, and actually the Williams driver just drops behind, losing traction and drive out the corner because of that contact.
Yeah, got to say as well, this is that's worked out brilliantly for Brendan Lee, now pulling out to 1.8 seconds. I do believe Shinaka Clay's got the pace to drag that one back, but it depends on how confident he's feeling in these wet weather conditions, and also what they're doing setup-wise. Brendan Lee with that margin, but it could also be because maybe he's prepared himself for dry conditions, or maybe slightly dry conditions than what we're getting around here as the rain most certainly is coming down. The up and under coming then from Bench Jarbo Conyi, trying to get past Norbert Eisner out onto this enormous backstretch. Do you know how long it is? I think it's like 1.5 kilometres.
It's 1.2 kilometres long, according to my
1.2?
notes. So Bench Jarbo Conyi, it was the longest straight in F1. I don't think it is anymore. I don't know who has that, but it was the longest straight. It isn't anymore. Bench Jarbo Conyi has still made good use of it, and he's 3rd in class at the moment. Next up is Sveno Garatsky, who's still fighting with Mercedes. Really good pace in this wet weather, and of course much more difficult to overtake because you lose the DRS down the start-finish straight and down the long straight out of turn 13 towards turn 14 at the hairpin.
I guess like what you classify as the longest straight in Formula 1 depends on how loose your definition is of straight.
I think it may be Baku, right? Like,
I was going to say, exactly. Like, it could be Baku. Depends on if you count it coming out of, like, what is the final proper corner, then you go through, like, the left, right, and then from there, or do you count it from the previous corner? Who knows? Do you count all those wiggles at Saudi Arabia, which, in my opinion, are utterly dangerous?
Yeah, it is ludicrous. We'll go there next week, won't we? And it's always, honestly, I think it's such a risk racing there. Such a risk.
I actually don't despise driving the track, although I don't enjoy it that much. I don't despise it, but it's that's horrendous. There's Miller Meyer now down the inside, Boris Jongor also with David Vincer in all of that. You got the Red Bull just ahead, Gabor Titic with Miller Meyer going side by side, and Titic was able to hang on at least for 11th position. But yeah, we need, no, I'm not about that. Miami's worse though. Miami's a much worse circuit in every way, shape or form.
Well, Miami circuit that could be selected in the Ironman League as Titic gets way out of shape, coming out of the double left-handers of 9 and 10, and he could give the impetus to Milan Meyer to go by here. A battle for 11th position, but a battle between 2 different classes of field, and look at that, he's just all over the place, really struggling in traction in these wet conditions, and I think he'll be one driver really hoping for a switch to dries to come very soon and the rain to ease up, but it looks super heavy at the moment, as we see Boris under attack from David Vinizzi around the outside of turn 14 it will have to be, and it will be a better defensive line from that Alpine. We've seen him do a bit of podding so far, and again just pushes him off the field, and it's a very interesting tactic there from Boris. He's done that to a number of drivers today already.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think that kind of desperation on defence, just opening up the steering wheel, very Lewis Hamilton-esque, the early hybrid era. And I can tell you, I was not a fan.
I agree. And so everyone says, "Oh, that's a Max Verstappen thing." No, that is Hamilton. Like that's a beautiful really Hamilton move on Rosberg. There's no other, like, he'd do it time and time again. And I agree. Not a fan of that at all. It's it just kills the racing, doesn't it? It kills the opportunity for a post.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, it's we're not saying Verstappen doesn't do it, because he does.
He does.
I still remember 2019 Austria. There's contact there, and that will send just down the road a little bit the Alpine of Jongor, and I say maybe just struggling a little bit with the grip in these conditions. Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest. Even before the Hamilton era, that was all happening.
Oh, yeah.
But still, I think Hamilton really made that famous.
He coined the move, really. He made it his own, as these two the AlphaTauri and the Red Bull, of course part of the same family, but really, really struggling out there. Both in the same amateur class, but they're just sliding through the middle sector, and that's giving a chance for Boris to return up the positions and go back up the orders. Someone who fell down really early on because of those soft tyres and just not having the pace of people around him, but he's going to think about maybe attack here. He's the closest person to making a move on track, barring maybe his teammate just behind. Albert's all over the place, and he's pushed onto the grass. These two getting very feisty, the two Hungarians, and I think the AlphaTauri's going to hold on to it. No, because he absolutely sends it, and there's no space between the two, but these two are just going for it, absolutely, and it could end up in tears very easily here, but again into single file. But I would expect someone else to go in for a move here, because they have gone into each other for about a lap and a half here.
Yeah, I think Tamas Gal might try and work his way past in that Haas. We know that Gal is pretty quick. Boris Shongo and David Vince are both struggling a little bit, not just with the circuit, but with each other. There is Tamas Gal to the inside of Boris Shongo. We'll get this done potentially around the outside of 3, but then there's just not really the grip out there in these kind of conditions. It's going to get very slippery. Also, you've got the teammate of Shongo in Alroots, who's now going to try and get his way to the outside. Should be actually a really solid move there from the Haas. Does work his way through. There's an instant look down the inside from Shongo, and that was a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, and that allows Alberts to just cycle his way up the inside and take that position. And Shongo again goes into someone at the exit of turn 6. He's done that 6 or 7 times already today. So he has been at the wars today as he's fallen down the field, and now in 16th position. It'll be the man who runs the league, Timbo, just behind. So I think he'll want to show him a little bit more respect. Otherwise, could be saying goodbye to the seat. I'm not quite sure how gun-ho Timbo is, but I know I'd give him a little inch.
Yeah. There's always a thing when you're going side by side with the league admin. You're like, nah. I did see, by the way, in chat, did Thomas and Otis receive a race ban? As far as I'm aware, absolutely not. No. Ronhar was expected to be racing this evening, was replaced by Eric Zandy. Otis Lawrence wasn't originally on the schedule for this evening's racing, but no, I don't believe there was a race ban.
They banned themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I'd expect. Yeah, probably looking at it being like, nah, I'm out for the night.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, I think just neither of them could make it tonight, but yeah, both will be back in later editions as Tirtik is on the back of David Vinitze into turn 1. And these two are the closest cars out on track. The battle for 12th position, which is a battle for, I believe, 3rd in class at the moment. If I'm counting up correctly, it may be 4th. No, it's way lower than that, actually. It's quite difficult to work out where the amateur drivers are. Maybe I'll just save that for the end of the race and make it simpler for myself. But yeah, they are very close together. But of course, they've been very just scribbly on traction for a lot of places because they've really struggled with this wet weather. Now, I'm not sure what we're expecting weather-wise and how much longer we're expecting this to go on for.
Yeah, from what I can see, I think we're expecting the rain to be here for, like I say, a fair while, like probably at least another 30 minutes, which does mean that we will definitely see dry weather conditions once again here in Shanghai. So do expect to see that and deal with that. But yeah, right now it's definitely intermediate conditions, as we see Danny Berezno get past Shenigaratsky. But yeah, it's definitely intermediate conditions. It's not going towards full wet, heavy wet kind of scenario. You'll never guess what's being brought up in chat, by the way.
What is it?
Do you remember what we were discussing before?
Is it track map?
It is the track map. Yeah, exactly.
Guys, if you want track map, you've got to send some donations to our PayPals.
Nice.
Links are in the description. Nice. Why do you guys need track map? I don't need track map, and I'm commentating it. So we'll go without track map tonight.
They just love the track map.
What is it with the track map? If I could turn it off with a button, I'd turn it on and off, but I can't.
Exactly.
There we are. That's the end of that one for tonight. But Istvan Pukki and Saba Hegedus really fighting here through the snail, and I love this first set of corners because it provides so much chance to defend and attack, so many strategies through the 270-degree corner, and now the Ferrari around the outside. Actually, Zabber, just knowing that position was going to go, and just ducked out of it and decided not to fight anymore. Doesn't want to lose any more time, as he has people like Balan Elikas behind, and Benji for the Illes, of course, in the same field as him. So yeah, just ducking behind there, but good side-by-side action on lap 14 here.
Yeah, obviously, Hagedis is currently running third, by the way, in the AM category, because, of course, you've got Norbert Eisner and Shenegorachki up ahead. So still a solid round at the moment for the Aston Martin squad. But, again, we'll wait and see how this unfolds through the race, because if there's one thing that I know, we discussed this back in Spa with myself and Scott, and we were saying that the thing is with the amateur teams, the amateur drivers, the likes of Shenegorachki, Norbert Eisner and stuff, they have the pace to battle. Nice slide. They have the pace to battle with the likes of Brendan Lee and Stanley Gray and Jarbo Conyon. They do have the ability to do so. It's the consistency, though. Like I said, if this was a half-distance race, I think you would see them battle with them for far longer. But when you have this, it's so brutal to do the entire races and keep that consistency all the way up that you just don't typically see it. Bench Jarbo Conyon into the pit lane. Is this then going to be for full wet tyres? It has to be.
Yeah, we're getting the graphic saying it's time to switch to full wet tyres. Now, this is a gamble, because if it's going to get lighter soon enough, then he won't be able to make those places up. 23 seconds you lose in the pit lane here. So that's 23 seconds that he's got to gain back on those wet tyres to make it worthwhile. And there's contact between the Haas and the Red Bull on the exit there. And that was Timbo, the man who runs the league, getting into it with the pro there.
I actually think it might have been Chechik.
Oh, right, okay.
Flag has come out in Sector 2 as well. I think that one might have been for David Vincer. Okay, this is the whole thing of like bad race circuits. Here we'll see the speed from Bench Jarbo Conyon. So instantly he's got so much more grip compared to the others. So straight down the inside of our routes. Like I say, I'm not a fan of this track, as we've discussed a little bit. One thing, though, or two things that are terrible about this circuit, which technically can be the one thing, depending on how you do it, is something which I complain about a lot as more cars going off. Gabriel Chichik this time. Pit lane. The run into pit lane, you're braking so much later than those on the race circuit, which means you just drive into the back of them. 0 out of 10, stupid idea. And then turn 1, where you come out of pit lane onto the apex of the first corner. Who designed that? Well, we know who designed it. You're an idiot. Do better.
I think you need to go about 20 years back in time to give out that advice.
There's so many circuits that have terrible pit entries and exits, like so many.
Yeah.
I still maintain Brands Hatch is a crime against humanity, with both sides, but particularly the pit exit. But this circuit's pretty bad for it. It's pretty bad for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we haven't seen anyone else go into the pits here. Certainly no one else ahead of Benji Zabbe Conyon, a man who's pitted on to those wet tyres. As we see that, we do actually see Zabbe Hegedus come in for presumably wet tyres, and we do have people behind him on wet. So I think this has been quite a sensible move. Now, I'd love to find out what the timings are for these two drivers, but actually my telemetry has just failed on me in the background. So I'm going to be without that for the race, but I feel like he's significantly quicker. You get to see the pace on those amateur drivers, at least, as there is a yellow flag through Sector 1 that has now been cleared. And yeah, he is just gaining chunks of time, and this could be a very pivotal moment of the race. If he can get through the field and up into first position, then he still needs to gain some time, because of course he'll probably need to go back onto a pair of inters, but it could come into favour that actually the intermediate runners start to lose pace because they start to wear out. We're looking about lap 18. They won't go any further than that, as we see another car in front running wide. I think that is a car that has been lapped. Yep, indeed, it's Eric Zandi down in 20th position, though no change of position there. 5 seconds to gain on Miller Meyer, but Eric Zandi picks up a 3-second time penalty to boot as well, so he's having a fantastic afternoon. Obviously, the late call-up has given him absolutely zero practice in this league, but in this league, surely you need zero practice, so just a bit off the pace tonight. Not race ready, certainly, and having a bad day at the back, lapped as well, so even if there's a safety car, he won't have the gracious reset that would get him back into it, so that's sad for him.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably more the lack of race prep, right, rather than obviously practice, because they don't generally practice, because you don't really know what the circuit is until you go into it, but Yeah, Shinaka Clay has left the session. Okay, big man. Obviously, it could be a disconnection. We still expect to see him come in. Like, it's fine. Let's not panic too much. But well, I hope he doesn't lose too much time.
Ooh, he will hemorrhage time because
exactly. But still.
So I mean,
Shinaka's PC died. Oh, it's going to be ages.
Oh, that's going to be a long one. Yeah. Okay. So he's going to be losing heaps of time. He could even lose position to both amateur drivers and Istvan Pukki. They aren't too far away. Milan Maya, his teammate, about 8 seconds, 10 seconds down the road from him. So that's going to be a long restart. Let's hope he's got an M2 in that machine so he can get back in a bit quicker. But that's going to be a long process for him. So he will probably and presumably lose third place overall in this field, and it's Istvan Pukki who will be the man to pick those points up if he can get by them. But of course, a long way to go here. We could have safety cars and incidents and a change of weather that will help him fight back into this one. As we see Ballant then make a move there on Timbo, the pro driver coming in for Otis Lawrence, I believe this week. Actually, no, coming in for Luke Smith, who was coming in for Lucas Blakely in 11th position, and Shinaka Clay's back in already. Actually, that's a quick restart. Actually.
It's either I'm assuming that it might not have been a PC dial, it might have been an internet failure. Just a quick reset, that's fine. Good. Unless SSDs these days. Oh, sorry, NVMe's.
Yep.
It made a difference. I showed it to my dad once. I installed an NVMe into his computer, and I was like, "Dad, watch this." And I pressed the on button. Within 5 seconds, well, it might have been a little bit longer, but basically, like 5 seconds later, it turned on, and my dad literally just went, "Wow." Anyway. I was like,
underwhelmed.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm like, Dad, you've spent like the last, as we'll see a few more into the pit lanes, definitely moving into the wet. It's Shinaka Clay. He's straight back into the car and straight back round. That's a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, he collected it though. He didn't put it into the wall, so he won't have to change a front wing. That's not the end of the world, but we're going to see him go onto a pair of wets here, or certainly a different pair of tyres, because he has had it with those ones, definitely, and it is the full wet tyres, the extreme wets here, which will clear a lot more water than those inters, and they are the right tyre to be on. Benche Zabe Konye only 6 seconds behind Istvan Pukki, and it's coming to the pit stop period anyway for those inters. So Istvan Pukki has made up a position there, but they're really just struggling on those tyres. Just no traction because they're not clearing the water they need to progress around quickly.
Look, let's be real here. Brendan Lee's putting on an excellent performance in the opening portion of this race. That's great. He's doing a brilliant job. Fantastic news. But he might well lose out quite a bit here to Ben Jabo Konyi, who's just playing a better strategy at the moment. There's the whole thing of what was said about with Jenson Button in 2011 at the Canadian Grand Prix, which is always being on the right tire at the right time, regardless of how many times you have to come into pit lane to do it, right? And that seems to be the sort of methodology that Ben Jabo Konyi is doing right now. Obviously, he's come into the pit lane more than Brendan Lee by one more time. But he's on the right tyre for right now, and he is absolutely flying. Whether that will end up, we'll have to wait and see. That was a little bit sketchy for Shaba Hagedis, who got into the back of our routes there, and that really shows how much slower the intermediates are right now.
Yeah, Hagedis is up into 9th position. Tamas Alwitz, who did pit for intermediates, so he's already pitted at least once in this race already. Is just on the wrong tyre, and he's going to lose even more time because I think he will have to switch onto those wet tyres. Maybe they've had a message, some of those drivers, to just how long. Shinaka Clay maybe got the message 15 minutes more storm weather. That'd be worth it to stay on it because at that point you'd be able to close it down as just really difficult on braking there and locking up the rears and just about rallying that one through the hairpin of turn 14 and keeping it in the right direction. So good car control in the end there, but not ideal for the man who was first overall in the amateur class last week.
Yeah, I'd still say at this point we're still expecting around about 5-10 minutes, so at least about 10 laps more of wet weather. Whether that will lighten up, we'll have to wait and see. But it should be around about another 15-20 minutes at least of the rain. Just seeing, by the way, Shinaka Clay didn't mean to come down pit lane.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, when he took back over from the AI, his AI was
deciding to pit.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that is not ideal, and that's maybe explains the spin halfway through the corner. Just didn't expect it. There's a bit of a contact for Shinaka Clay as well with the Williams, but I think No damage done there, so he'll continue on his march back towards the top spots here, as Benches Abekonye is on a march as well towards the top spots, and he's only one place off the podium. Gap to leader 14 seconds. That's closed down about a second over the last few laps. Of course, fresher wet weather tyres and being on the right compound at this point in time. He's right on the back of Istvan Pukki, and on a supreme strategy. Third place is where he pitted from, so in a way, third place is, he's already got a net gain on where he was. But you do have to remember Danny Beresny and Istvan Pukki were behind him at the time. It's the car of Shanaka Clay ahead that's actually pitted as well. So he's lost place as well. So this is a very good strategy, as you said, from the Hungarian. And now he closes down on the two Ferrari drivers. How much of a fight will Pukki put on here to try and slow down this Haasman's progression?
I don't think he can. I don't think Istvan Pukki can put up a fight to bench Abekonye, courtesy of the pace differential. Yellow flag coming out in the third sector. That'll be Shaba Hagedis, I believe. It might not have been, but he did lose out of position to Shanaka Clay there anyway. Saw another car coming into the pit. I think it might be Timbo, or it might be Gabriel Tichik. It is. I'm going to lane pace. Do that pit. I've got to say, like I said, I don't think Istvan Pukki can keep bench Abekonye behind because of the grip differential. There's the whole thing of how much speed you have to be fast in the other car to get past, and it's normally around about 3 seconds lap. If you're 3 seconds lap faster, you should be able to clear them absolutely no problem. And I do believe bench Abekonye is comfortably around that 3 second a lap faster, and almost went for a big move there.
Yeah, I mean, going through this middle sector is probably the worst place to catch one of these cars because it means it's so difficult to make an overtake. He did look for a move into the left-hander of turn 9, and he even goes a little bit later on the brakes down into turn 11, but this will be a simple move. He'll have way better traction through this 270-degree right-hander, banking on to the straight. He'll tuck behind the rear wing and gearbox of that Scarlet Ferrari. He'll pop out, and there'll be no DRS, of course, but he'll just have so much more pace. But I think Pukki caught him in the right place to kind of slow him down for a little bit there, and the Ferrari will do a little bit of battling, make it as hard as possible for that Haas to get by. And now he will look up as he just slides through turns 14 there, the hairpin, and he looks forward now, benches Abekonye at Danny Beresny, who's in second place but only 4.5 seconds down the road.
And also, Danny Beresny has been closing in a little bit on Brendan Lee, who struggled the last couple of laps. It's gone from 7.5 to 6.1 seconds. So Beresny and that Ferrari is closing down. Obviously, bench Abekonye is closing down on the pair of them. Now, for Abekonye, if he gets ahead of Brendan Lee, right, then effectively, in a sense, all things are equal, right? If it dries up, fair enough. You pitted the same amount of time, but you gain, that's where you secure that track position that you gain. So for right now, for bench Abekonye, he is looking very close to an actual proper full-on net lead. I know, obviously, we all know the math behind that. Like, it's pretty simple. You take over the race lead, cool. But it's the speed of which he's doing it and flying up the order right now. Could we be looking at bench Abekonye's first Ironman League victory? Well, he said last season, especially over the last couple of rounds, that he was really expecting to take a victory last season, and was on a lot of podiums. It'd be excellent to see him in round 3 of this season taking the top honours.
Yeah, well, he's had 2 third places so far this season, back in Spa and Singapore last week, of course, inheriting positions from Otis and Thomas as they went handbags at dawn. And he's onto the straight now. Now he's 2.5 seconds behind Danny Beresny. Remember, Danny Beresny and Brendan Lee are yet to stop, but you would expect benches Abekonye to have to stop as well. And as soon as the rain eases off, it immediately swings back the pendulum towards the intermediate runners. And I'm not sure about you, but I feel like the rain is coming down just that little bit lighter at the moment. Yeah. They will have fresher tyres, Abekonye, on that Haas. They'll have fresher tyres, but I think it means that Brendan Lee and Danny Beresny can switch to a pair of intermediates at their next stop. And overall, not lose too much time. And there we are. Benches Abekonye. I think he recognises that, and he wants to get the undercut as much as possible in the cars ahead. I expect him to come in for a pair of intermediates here.
I think that's a great call. I think that's a brilliant call from bench Abekonye. You've made all the progress. You've used these wet tyres to genuinely gain an awful lot of time on that. That's fine. Let's bank it. Let's not try and go too long, and maybe push these wets where they are very much out of phase. And Bash Benchabo Konyi will rejoin the race circuit, hopefully nicely. We'll have to wait and see. Again, stupid pit exit, lol. But it is nice and clean there from Benchabo Konyi inside the top 10. Really good strategy. I like that.
Yeah, confident, actually, decisive, not waiting too long on the wrong pair of tyres, and that can really turn a good strategy into a bad strategy very, very quickly. So a very smart move from the Haasman, as you say, looking for his first win in the Ironman League, and surely it is coming. But Brendan Lee currently leads this one and has a pretty good gap, 6 seconds on Danny Beresny. That has just whittled down just a little. A tenth here, a tenth there. Istvan Pukki 3.6 seconds further down. But I'm very interested to see what the response will be from these drivers. They're on 14 lap, 13 lap old intermediate tyres. And I feel, have they pitted? Have they pitted these guys at some point? They did pit, didn't they? They must have pitted. Yes, they pitted to go on to the intermediates. So for some reason in my head, I was like, well, we started with rain weather. It feels like so long since the rain weather came in. But yeah, Brendan Lee, 14 lap old intermediates. I expect him to come into the pits as well this lap and switch onto a pair of intermediates, because he'll lose a few positions, but he'll be down in 9th maybe. Nope, he ignores me. And last week, actually, I kept on saying Brendan Lee surely going to come into the pits this lap. Did a mega stint on a pair of softs, and every lap he ignored me. And, he's the pro driver. I'm the lowly commentator, so it makes a lot of sense that he would ignore my advice.
Well, they might be seeing it as like the rain. I would genuinely expect to stop in sort of like 5 or 6 laps from now, like around about lap 30, like somewhere in that kind of region. And so, realistically speaking, they might be able to just like stretch. Yes, they're going to be going through a lot of a painful stint here. Benchabo Konyi is going to be absolutely flying as Shinaka Clay comes into pit lane after. Well, this time it was intended by him, but I think he'll be pretty frustrated with actually going onto the wet. So it's not exactly what he wanted to do with that stint. Obviously, the main reason why Benchabo Konyi didn't stay on the wets compared to Beresny and Brendan Lee is that he would be losing an awful lot of time now, because his tyres would be completely wrong with the conditions. Despite being newer, they would have been completely wrong for what's going on.
Yep, so gap to leader for Bente Sabakonye is 27 seconds, 28 seconds really if you're rounding up. So he's got a little bit of time to close down, and he'll hope for the weather to stay like this for as long as possible. We are still seeing rainfall. He has the fastest lap of the race as well, but of course that was in dry conditions earlier on. But he has about a second and a half, to the car in front. If he sees mediums come out, if he sees the dry weather, the DRS enabled message, his heart will sink. But we are still seeing rainfall on the track, so that is at least positive from him. And he's probably the person who's next going to make a move on track as well, as he's absolutely climbing very quickly towards the man who has stuck out on wets, and perfectly illustrating your point with the pace differential out of that corner. Just a huge chunk of time taken out of about 8 tenths in one corner. So that is exactly why you switch off of those tyres as soon as they have served their purpose.
Yeah, goodbye, says Benchabo Konyi to Baron Elikas. So moving up the order bit by bit. Like I say, I think he really cares about that right now. He's again trying to, for the second time in this race, you feel, reaffirm his strategy, and by doing so, he needs to make up the time and the progress, and at least get realistically ahead of Chenigarachki. Ideally, we want to get ahead of bare minimum Istvan Pukki, but Chenigarachki is the main one that he'll be targeting to get there and get past, because that will then just basically settle his strategy. As we'll look back at Shinaka Clay trying to get past Tamas Gal.
Yep, around the outside he goes. Simple job, because Tamas Gal's on those wets, and that's it. Just a huge pace differential between these two now. And I think those people on wets, those wet people, they need a towel. Give them a towel and let them dry them off. But those people, they should definitely go onto a pair of intermediates here. But they're just hanging on for the crossover. And the only place that's a real viable strategy is you were looking at places like Monaco, where we see that happen, because it's so hard to overtake. But you can keep cars behind, you can slow them down, you can run the track at your own pace. But even on this game, I think the delta would just be a mega, and the offset would be bad. But look at that, every lap it's looking dry and dry, and I have to keep on squinting harder and harder to actually see the raindrops falling on the track. So next 5-10 minutes, I'm expecting maybe we'll have some dry weather conditions here, and we'll have slick tyres on the cars once again, and cars pushing at full tilt.
Yeah, I think pretty much about the halfway point of this race is when we're expecting them to jump back on. Lovely up and under there from Shinaka Clay. Obviously, 15 laps different on age between the two tyres there, between Shinaka Clay and Alroots. There's Ben Chabo Conyi now onto the rear end of Milan Meyer, and we'll try and maybe do something down into T1. Should have the pace advantage comfortably on the Mercedes, courtesy of the age differential between the tyres. And even out of the final corner, Bosch, there is one ticked off. So he's absolutely flying. I think we'll get ahead of Shenigaratsky pretty quickly here, like even this lap. But then it's 10 and a bit seconds up to Esteban Pookie, which, to be fair, is kind of good because you're not losing any time. It's you and the track and the conditions.
Yeah, you can just focus on your own line and focus on extracting the most out of these fresher intermediate tyres than the cars ahead. Lovely. And he is going to make that move straight away on Eisner up the inside of turn 6. The right-hander getting it done decisively before the braking zone really came into effect there, and now it's the long left-hander of turn 7, and then the counter right-hander of turn 8 as he'll close up on the car in front, which is Zeno Goratsky, who currently leads the amateur field there in 4th place overall, first in class. And as he closes down, I think he'll have a chance to take the position maybe on the snail, but he's going to be a little bit too far back from that. But certainly by the end of that straight, just confidence on the brakes with those tyres being so much fresher. And there we are, we're going to see maybe up and under from him. No, just caught out a little bit by the car in front, just slowing down. But again, there we are, better traction out the corner. Now he can speed his way towards the top 3, and 11 seconds is the gap. So that's gone up a little bit between 4th and 3rd position as those amateurs just backed off the pace. But Brendan Lee still has 6 seconds for the lead. Oh, look at Williams is looking about a move up the inside. No, he's not. He's way further back. It's so hard to see the differences of gap between those two as you go into that corner. It was very deceptive, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. So, absolutely right. Brendan Lee's actually started pulling a bit of a gap on Danny Brechner as the wetness has slowed down, lowered just a little bit. Obviously, speaking for the victory, not just overall, but in the AM category, you're absolutely right. Shenigaratsky and Norbert Eisner, 5th and 6th position on the road. They are battling for victory in the AM category as well. So we'll keep our eye on that as Hagaidas, I think he might be having some more problems as he battles with Timbo, and we'll see Danny Berejne. Looking at the body language of the car, it's looking balanced is the way that I put it. It's looking calm. It's not looking like he's overdriving the car really at any point. The car's looking comfortable. It's looking consistent on the track. To a degree, it's almost looking like it's relatively easy to drive, which obviously just shows the skill of Berejne. But it's more just, it's not doing anything crazy, the car. It's not being unpredictable like what we've seen from a few people's cars.
Yep, certainly planted and looking indeterminable with how he is acting at the moment. Just a little few corrective movements through the corners, but 18-lap-old intermediates here switched on as soon as it started raining. And this is right the window where you need to box off them, but looking confident, maybe just losing a few temps here and there to Brendan Lee up ahead, who is just having a simply wonderful race so far, as he has a little bit of brake drag through that corner, but a really nice race. 2 6th place finishes so far in the Ironman League for his career. He just didn't seem to have the right strategy last time out at Singapore, but these conditions have really played into his deck, and the one thing he'll be hoping for now is that he can keep that gap high and there won't be any more safety cars, or any safety cars in fact, in this race that would rebunch the pack up and kind of wipe out all that hard work he's done over the last 27 laps.
Yeah, obviously, he is streaming. He is live on Kick, which makes sense, all things considered. Obviously, Brendan Lee being a two-time F1 Esports world champion. That was, technically it's F1 Esports champion. Because, whatever.
They changed the name, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, realistically, we're going over it as F1 sim racing now.
Yeah.
Again, we're not going into it. Slippery road, that one. But yeah, this is a very, very solid drive for him as we're very quickly approaching the halfway point of the race. And once again, I'm squinting. There is still rain coming down. It's fine. Yep. But I say it's not lightened up enough yet. I thought it had lined up probably, but no, it's not.
Yeah, that transition from storm to light rain conditions was quite quick and sudden. It gave me a feeling that we were going to switch off or dry straight away, but this rain has just lingered a little bit longer than I thought it would. So we do often run different weather fronts in the Ironman League. You said you've never commentated a fully dry race there. Well, you had a fully dry race actually in the at Singapore. I didn't think we did fully dry races. It was fully dry, start to end. Which is more surprising than it raining in the Ironman League with how we run these things. So it was quite interesting actually, provided for quite a spectacle of a race.
I think that's partly because if it had rained at Singapore, that race would have taken an eternity. Even though the average speed's a lot quicker now without that the double chicane.
I was speaking to one of our Hungarian colleagues, and they ran Singapore back in season 2, and they had 6 safety cars, and they did indeed hit the 2-hour limit. So that's maybe was the thinking. Right, it's Singapore. Let's not do any longer than a small maybe patch of intermediates. Maybe they could have set it dynamic right at the end, but we didn't have any of that. So that's smart thinking here. That's probably what it was. But battle here for 10th position at the moment. Hegedus, I say it's a battle. He's quite far off the back here, and I think if you don't have any kind of big impetus to catch the cars ahead, then of course the both similar age intermediates here, pitting about 5 or 4 laps to go. It's quite hard to overtake, and we do see a car in the pits. It's
rain stop.
Alan Ellikes, and we have had rain stop here. So he's going off with those wet tyres. He's one of the wet people who decided to stay out and not towel himself off and go onto a pair of intermediates. But now he will have the benefit of switching onto a slick pair of tyres straight from wets to mediums, and he'll fall down to 14th position. He was running about 9th place, which it was about I think 9th in class as well, so it wasn't actually 8th in class, because of course Eric Zandi part of that pro field, but way down at the back at the moment. 14th position for Ballant, and we do see a couple of other runners also switch to mediums. Tamas Alwitz and Zoltan Boda also joining Tamas Gal, but Brendan Lee surely will have to pit. 7.2 seconds is the gap, and Benches Abekonye, of course, switched onto a pair of intermediates. Another couple of laps longer, he could be right with it with the top 3 there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he is absolutely flying. We know this circuit. We know what F123 is like. It will dry up fairly quickly. Brendan Lee stays out. Danny Berejne will most likely stay out as well. Wow. It's not quite dry enough. Maybe we'll see Benchabo Konyi take an extra gamble. No, he's not. I was going to say, if I'm Benchabo Konyi, I'm making the most of these tyres. They're all going to pit next lap. Although, to be fair, between Danny Berejne and Istvan Pukki, they're once again a little bit too close. So maybe it was worth Pukki pitting potentially, but it's definitely going to be dry enough next lap.
Yeah, we'll see how early that DRS-enabled message comes out, and that's really an indicator. If you're over halfway through the lap, then you've made the right decision going another lap on these pair of intermediate tyres, as Benches Abekonye closes down another second on Istvan Pukki. Now, I was maybe surprised Istvan Pukki didn't pit, because he is gaining on his teammate, and of course they were trying to avoid double stacking last time out. Maybe I thought he would put a person who would be best set to gamble out of the top 5 because of the same team ahead. His teammate Danny Berezny just ahead, 2.6 seconds. So he didn't pit though. So maybe he'll run a lap longer. Maybe that's a big enough a gap. But I think the animation would still play out actually at 2.5 seconds. So we'll lose a little bit of time there. But look at that Benches Abekonye just taking chunks out of the Ferrari man here. 1.7 seconds is the gap, and there is the message. So that is confirmation. We will see cars come into the pits this lap and remove those intermediate tyres, the cars who haven't already done it. Brendan Lee currently in first position on lap 29, just lapping Gabor Vaja down in 19th position he is, but going through, and he will look to go into the pits here, peel off to the right, and there we are. Finally he does pit, and I make a prediction right, but there we are, cutting that inside corner very well and pushing to the limits, slowing it down. 80 kilometers an hour is the pit lane speed limiter, and he will switch onto a pair of slick tyres. What colour is it going to be? A pair of mediums would probably get to the end here, but it is, yes, a pair of that yellow tyre, so that's going to get to the end.
Yeah, I think most people will go onto the mediums here, at least to keep the strategy open. There have been 26 laps left to go in this race. The likelihood of rain in the Ironman League is still fairly high. We'll see Benches Abekonye into pit lane once again, going out onto the mediums. This time, Istvan Pukki is going to lose a whole heap of time, sadly. It would have been better for him pitting, obviously not the last lap, but the lap before. He's going to need a safety car now.
Absolutely. Music to Benche Zabekonye's ears. He's going to inherit that position, surely, because the difference in time is going to be huge as we head on to lap 30. Indeed, actually, we see a yellow flag out there through turn 1. That bad pit exit doesn't strike again, does it? We can't actually see who's got that, but we can report a penalty on Shinaka Clay, so I think he's had a speeding in the pit lane penalty. So he showed so much promise early doors here, but since that PC reset, it's gone from bad to worse, really, hasn't it?
Which is a big shame. He didn't deserve that. It's once again yellow flag out in the first sector. That'll be Tamas Alroots, who I believe might have gone for a spin. Gabor Chichik also losing out position because he's coming out of pit lane. Never mind, we've sorted that one out. In that 16th spot. A couple more switches in the middle. Pakalekis getting past Hagedis. Down at the back end of the top 10. That battle's going to take them up towards this snaking section through the left and right-hander. And that move is now made from the McLaren, of course. As much as we've not seen Balan Elikas in the series before, because the team is put down as a pro team, they're scoring points as a pro.
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment, it'd be very few points, in fact. I think it'd be just 4 or 5 points for that team, currently down in the class 8th and 9th position, so it wouldn't be a good day for them, as Istvan Puki has his day kind of ruined there by not pitting early enough, and he's going to be a little bit adrift of the top 3. Did Zenogoratsky get close enough to make a move there around the outside? No, 18 seconds is the gap, so didn't lose any more positions than 1, but it was about 6 seconds, 7 seconds total that he lost through there.
Yellow flag out in the first sector. That is because I believe it might have been. It would have been Norman Eisen, yeah. Anyway, someone was coming out of pit lane, and I believe they might have come to a stop basically on the apex of T1, because if not, they would have absolutely just cleaned house and destroyed and detonated someone.
I like the pit lane exit like that. It adds a bit of something to talk about.
Drama.
Right? Yeah.
A bit of drama, a bit of spice.
And it's surely not as bad as the career exit. Can you remember that in 2010?
The career exit was pretty bad, but at least you came out on the like, you didn't come out directly onto the racing line, right? As much
you did in 2010, didn't you?
No, you did, but you at least had about 10 meters of not being on the racing line, because you come on the outside of turn 2, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you're on the apex. Brands Hatch is still the big one. Yeah. Of potentially taking the award of worst pit exit known to mankind. I think South Korea can take worst pit entry. It's certainly up there.
Yeah, Guinness Book of Records for worst pit entry.
Worst pit entry is either there or Austria.
And worst stock fridges as well for Korea as well, I think.
Yeah, right. Where else has got a really bad
Austria's pretty bad, because you really have to commit early. It's really bad in sim racing, because no one pays attention to that.
No. Austria is tragic. Montreal is pretty bad. The pit exit is kind of fine, even though you do get dumped a little bit onto the racing line. But there's something you could do about it. But the pit entry at Canada is a joke, because of you brake about 100 meters later, i.e. the entire braking zone for the final chicane later if you're coming into pit lane, which is pretty stupid.
It's especially bad if you're playing an online lobby on F1. And someone doesn't have pit assist. They have pit assist enabled, and they just literally bomb it in there 300 miles an hour and smack into the back of you, someone who's trying to do it properly and slow the car down. I've been fallen foul of that a few times, as Benji Illis looks to go up the inside of the Aston Martin, fighting all the way here. Actually, Illis on a pair of softs here, so looking to make good weather of these. He'll, of course, have to do another stop. 2-lap old for both sets of tyres on both of these cars, and he'll surely pull away. As who's that going slowly? It's Eric Zandi, of course, having a completely opposite day to his teammate Brendan Lee in first.
Yep, good shout. Although we didn't quite notice that one. Danny Berejne sets the fastest lap of the race, trying to chase down and Brendan Lee. Shinaka Clay, day's going from bad to worse, mate. He's gone out on medium tyres, obviously, but they're used.
Oh yeah. That's really, that is, he's just having a horror. Well, sometimes when one thing goes wrong, everything else goes wrong. But look at this, Shabba Hegedus right up the inside and taking that position straight back, courtesy of DOS. That will just slow down the progress of the Williams Benche on those softs. He'll have to get by him again. Will he maybe think about a move down into turn 1? He'll certainly have DOS this time out, and will he have a bit of EOS burn as well? We'll see if he pulls out the slipstream. He's getting closer and closer. The overdrive there, around the outside it will have to be, and they will go into battle. The car on the inside will hang in there, but I think he's just able to resume the racing line there, the Williams. And again, a little bit losing a little bit of time because he's trying to leave space for one another, and the Aston Martin will have to throw it up the inside of turn 6 to get that position back.
Yeah, exactly. I was just again solid bit of racing between these lot. Obviously, all battling it out in the AM category for the AM podium, the final step on the AM podium. Obviously, Shena Goratsky and Eisner, we've said before, running up in first and second in the AMs, obviously fifth and sixth overall, and scoring some pretty healthy points. So courtesy of that, and Benzilis Hagedis battling for that final step on the podium. Baron Elikas is not in the battle for that final podium of the AMs. But still, moving up the positions, getting those points for McLaren, who currently sit second in the championship. I can tell you with absolute certainty they will not be after this round.
Yeah, they are having a bit of a bad day here, but Williams are having a very, very good day. Actually, they're fourth in the championship at the moment and look to be jumping upwards with Zdeněk Goratsky leading the way here. So there's a caution in Sector 3, but look at this. The man who won last week is looking to get back onto that podium in the amateur class, and these two are having a bit of a ding-dong battle here. It's bad for Benche Ellis because he's not able to escape down the road on those soft tyres and fighting into turn 16. That's how feisty these two are. And look at that, the McLaren, sorry, of Balan Ekeles just getting caught out a little bit, slowed down by this battle. The inside was chosen by the Aston Martin, and he'll hold on to that position. But look at that, the McLaren looking to get up the inside of these amateur drivers in a different championship, of course. The reserve driver coming in for Lucas Blakely, right behind the Williams man now. And will he have a potential lunge down the inside into turn 6? Just not close enough, losing out on traction out of the final corner, out of the corner before there, and just dropping behind, losing a lot of time here, just getting stuck in someone else's battle.
Yeah, exactly. Just can be fairly frustrating. Nearly turned himself into Kvyat there, going down into turn 2, but it's fine because it's not the first lap of the race. Old torpedo there. It was a fairly good effort. Just I think at times like this, you're just here to try and enjoy the race. Maybe you're not running in the position you expect, the position that you want, but you're just trying to enjoy things and what's going on. Norbert Eisner dropping back behind Miller Meyer now. I think there might have been a moment, but I don't believe there was because Eisner was about 2 seconds behind Shena Goratsky. I think it's just a DRS pass from Miller Meyer. Yeah,
Miller Meyer up into 6th position, Eisner down into 7th, but still second in his class and ahead of a few of the pro drivers, which are extra points to his name. So he'll be fully focused on that. He won't want to lose too much time battling, actually try and use the DOS from the Mercedes if he feels he is faster. Up at the front, Brendan Lee still leads the race. Gap 5.7 seconds, so that's come down just a little bit. I think Danny Berezzi just edging out and preferring these drier conditions. The Ferrari driver has a 4.5 second gap to Benche Zabu-Konye, who holds on to the final podium position. Istvan Pukki has lost a little bit more time then after the pit stop. 6.3 seconds is the gap. And then it's the amateur driver, Zdeněk Goratsky, who's 7.8 seconds behind, but that has roughly maintained. But look, it's a pair of soft tyres for the man who currently sits first in that amateur class. So he will be looking to make a pit stop. I think mediums, I do believe they could get towards the end here. We've got 20 laps of running left. It'd be about 26 laps of life on there. I think mediums are good for roughly 30 laps. So there's no reason mediums can't get to the end. But a double set of softs could be super aggressive, and if any safety car comes their way, strategy could turn on its head in a moment here.
Yeah, got to remember that Shena Goratsky is not battling for necessarily for overall positions. It isn't really bothered about that. He's more bothered about the rest of the AM contingent. That is where the focus really is for the Williams driver when it comes to the championship, and so going aggressive. Obviously we know definitely got to pit again, but going aggressive, not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't believe every one of the medium tyres will be going to the end of the race here. I still think some will be saying this is too far. And that's, to be fair, if we don't see any rain as well, which typically with the Ironman League, as much as we didn't have any in Singapore, we do normally see a couple of bouts of rain. It's normally the one either at the start of the race or in the middle, and there's normally one fairly late. So do, potentially expect there might be some cheeky rain on the horizon.
Yep, so Balint Eleki is right on the back of this battle in front, and he is waiting really for Benche's tyres to start to go worse than his. 6-lap old softs, that's around the time we saw Chonga start to lose pace in his softs during the first stint, but truthfully we were told, no offence to him, but I don't think he had the pace of the cars around him, so that certainly played into it. But Balint Eleki's we'll just have to wait a little bit longer, just kind of caught out by the fact that the car has DRS and isn't making forward progress anymore, and these two aren't battling. So yeah, there's a big gap then up towards Shinaka Clay. So truthfully, once he gets by these cars, it's not really going to do him much favours. He's not going to get many more points on the road because, of course, there's no extra points for pro drivers being in front of amateur drivers, as we do see Eisner and Miller-Meyer switch position again at the end of the straight. Also, it must have been a bit of battery burn there for the AlphaTauri, so really looking to cling on to those 2 points. Of course, pro versus am driver here, and that light flashing on the back of the car means the battery has been drained and they will be a little bit slower. So yeah, he's going to have not much tools to defend from Miller-Meyer here. Maybe just trying to work together, slipstream down the straight and make it a little bit quicker down the straight with DRS and tow too.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, strategically, if you want to charge your battery, the easiest way to do it is get close to someone who's on some all right pace, sit behind them for a couple of laps, use the DRS to make sure that you're not losing too much time on those straights, really keep up with that speed whilst you keep the battery turned on full, basically full recharge. And you do that for a few laps, that'll get you up to 100%, and then bosh, then you go on the attack. You want to clear and run away. Might be a little bit of that, at play here, like you say. Charging the battery. The whole ERS management stuff is really tricky. So to get it right, it's a real fine balancing act. But when you get it done really well, it is quite good. I've seen the person who ever did it best. It wasn't on like the F1 platform. It was on iRacing. Was Martin Kronker back in the day when the MP430 came out, and they were doing the iRacing Drivers' World Championship on that. And watching him balance the energy recovery system, which, by the way, Matt, was really complicated, very impressive. And Meyer absolutely flies past Eisner.
Yeah, gets that position, just working together, just trying to close down that gap ahead, and Eisner wants to work together with this pro drive to close down the man in 5th position for that amateur lead. So up to 2nd position, but I fully expect Eisner to actually overtake over the next couple of laps and just try to keep pace with each other, both on 8-lap old mediums. But yeah, EOS usage, some guy had some clever usage on that must be really old. Wasn't that like 2016, 2017?
It was 2016, yeah, exactly. I think it became, was it 2 or 3 time iRacing World Champion. I think it might have been 3. Was Kronker battling out with some of the best in sim racing that you've never heard of, like Gregor Hutu. Ever heard of Gregor Hutu?
No. Sorry, Gregor Hutu.
Gregor Hutu is, I still maintain, one of, if not the greatest driver there's ever been in sim racing, because he was at the front of sim racing for 20 years. Yeah, he was at the front of sim racing for a long time. He is the grandfather of proper competition, and Martin Kronker was the first person to properly dethrone him. But yes, far before your time. That's fine. Make me feel old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just an F1 baby, so all I commentate is F1. But I do like
to... you drive to survive, fan. All right.
Yeah, no, I'm not that bad. I don't think I'd Drive to Survive in 1998. But yeah, we have about 26 laps left here in the Ironman League. Round 3 today has been very much a battle of wits between certain drivers. Brendan Lee keeping up the pace high for 1st position here. Danny Beresny 5.6 seconds behind. We've had a dry period, a wet period, and we're back to a dry spell at the moment. Who knows what spell is coming up next? It looks like perfect clear skies at the moment, but a weather front could roll in very easily on the banks of the Yangtze River Delta as they on lap 39, and all Brendan Lee really has to do is just keep it consistent and keep it clean, because that pace has been managed beautifully. And if it's just one more switch to tyres later on, even maybe staying on this set of tyres to the end, I think this is really Brendan Lee to lose at this point.
Yeah, indeed. I was hoping that he would have just like, I don't know, an overlay up, and maybe it'll say what's happening weather-wise. He doesn't. So one of my opportunities of potentially finding out what the dealio is here weather-wise gone. So I mean, it's looking like a beautiful day. I mean, you were saying about that concrete factory. Maybe they have turned it off. It's actually looking lovely.
They did turn it off once. Like one, I can't remember what year it was. Maybe like 2012, 2013. Like I can remember them on 5 Live saying, "Look, they've turned the concrete factory off. That's why we've got blue skies." Literally every other year, it's just overcast. But it's not overcast. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, sans the concrete cap factory. So
now,
yeah. Do
you want me to slightly ruin your day?
Go on then.
Okay, how many laps did you say there were to go in this race?
26.
Right. Do you want to try that one again?
Oh.
Okay.
No, it's 26 plus 10.
Well, yeah.
16. It's 16 laps. Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it is 17, but that's fine. No, it's just I remember like you said 26. I was like looking at it, being like, I don't think there's that long.
Look, you know, counting isn't my forte. I'll not much is, to be honest.
It is.
I'm only an engineer by trade. It's fine.
It's a rule of mine, Gareth, that I've always said. I tell this to my commentary sons. Of which I have 3, bless them. I'm so proud of them.
Wow, beautiful.
A
nuclear commentary family.
Yeah, exactly. Zach Sweeney, Dareth Thacker, Ewan O'Leary, proud of all of them.
Yep.
Some more than others, but not going to talk about it. My main rule, and I repeat on broadcast a lot, is there's no such thing as a commentator's curse. There's only bad luck and bad driving.
Yep.
And number 2, never, ever trust a commentator's maths.
Certainly not mine.
if you're ever hearing on a broadcast a commentator try and work out a championship standings live, ignore it. It's completely pointless. If they say it with absolute confidence, it's generally because someone told them in their ear. That's fine. But when they're trying to work it out, no. Don't listen.
Right, okay, so let's work out the championship standings right now.
No. Go on, tell me who's leading Am and by how much? How many points is Jenna Goratsky getting from this one? Work it out live.
He's getting 25 points from this one, plus
exactly.
6
well,
points.
It should be. Yeah, I was going to say it should be fairly.
But then loads of people are getting 6 points. No, Shanaka Clay's down there as well, actually.
Well, Jenna Goratsky behind 4
points.
pro drivers.
Yeah.
So that must mean.
Okay. Yeah, so that's 5. So I can't even get that right, to be honest.
So he's had a 6.
See, you're adding all these little special, like, oh, he's behind 4. So I'm just trying to go down and scan and work it out. But
this is the problem when people like try and work out a golf score and they start adding like what's 5 plus 6.
I don't understand golf,
5.
to be honest. I play a bit of mini golf. I'm a demon at mini golf.
Are you?
I have a home course. I have one course in Sheffield where I'm particularly good around. The rest of them I'm useless around. So when I'm a demon at mini golf, I'm not really.
I'm not good at mini golf. Putting is by far my weakest aspect. Yellow flag's been out for a little while here. Is Hagedis, after victory last time, having an absolute mare because he wants to interrupt this golf conversation. He's got no interest in golf, whether it's mini or proper.
Yeah, falling down the order, and that really ends any spell of him being involved in that podium fight. Of course, he was alongside Benche Illis. I wonder if those two have come to blows, actually, because they were trading positions for a number of laps. But a man who did spectacular last week has really blown a chance at podium. 3-second penalty as well. That isn't going to affect him at the moment because it's a 7.6 second gap behind. So he is looking out of this one, not much to race for, you would think. He's got 1.3 second ahead. David Vidince up ahead, but again, that 3-second penalty is just going to offset any progress he can make here, as we do see Zdeno Goratsky come into the pit. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Maybe those soft runners are going to go for a super aggressive strategy and try to make up positions at the end and put the impetus in their hands and make the momentum their own. And it will be a set of softs here.
Is it softs again?
Soft. Oh no, it is mediums. You're right.
Yeah.
Why isn't it softs though? Surely a pair of softs would go to the end here, as we see a little bit of a hold. But that's just a game. Don't worry about that.
I believe, though, as much as the softs would have been fine, I think the mediums, whilst they're slower per lap, I think they'd be faster over a 15, 16 lap stint. Like over the entire distance. I think the softs you'll lose out more later on.
Only 14 laps. Surely I would have done softs, but again, what do I know? He's got his Williams teammate right ahead. He will not be battled very hard by him. Of course, it's a teams championship in the Ironman League. 2 teams championships, to be precise, the pro and the amateurs. And this is Sven Goratski, who was leading the amateur category until his pit stop. And now he has just one place to make up. But down the road, it's 19 and a half seconds of progress he's got to make to catch up to Viv Eisner. So he's protected second place quite nicely there. But a lot to go. Will he be able to close that gap? That will be an interesting one to watch. If he does catch up, surely he'll have the delta to overtake.
Yeah, I mean, like, that should be much, much faster now. And like I say, it's most focused on getting ahead of Eisner. It's not about returning even ahead of like Miller Meyer. It's purely about getting ahead of Eisner. Although there are a couple of points if you can get up to the rear end of Miller Meyer, who obviously is going to be trying to fend off Norbert Eisner himself in that battle for 5th position overall. Not long left to go in this one, and the big curiosity is, are there going to be any of those medium tyre runners that are going to struggle over the final sort of 5 or so laps? That's kind of where I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, tyre life-wise, we don't expect the tyres to actually be at risk at puncture until about 37 lap old, these mediums. But they're an ideal tyre for a lot less longer than that, even, looking, low 20s actually. So they'll get towards their limit. But how much progress can Sven Goratski make? He's already took about 1.5 seconds out of Miller Meyer. Now I'm going to try and do some quick maths. That's surely quick enough to overtake and make position. If he was able to keep that pace and offset up, as we do see a yellow flag through the final sector, and we see Danny Berezny come into the pit. So he's one of these people, he's stuck in second. He wasn't going to make any progress without changing up the strategy here, but surely that will give Brendan Lee the opportunity to pit and go onto a separate pair of tyres and cover off that undercut.
Hards?
That is very curious. That's a mistake, surely. That is a mistake from the most storied man in the Ironman League. 6 championships he's been involved with, winning 4 of them, and he's just switched onto hards right at the end here, and they're going to be awful, surely. They're going to take a while to warm up, and they're not going to have the grip compared to the mediums, and certainly the softs ahead. I think Danny Berezny's potentially just thrown away a podium. I
mean, I've opened up his stream, and I'll tell you his reaction when he went on to the hards. He didn't react.
He didn't react. Okay, so he wants the hards for
which tells me that it's intentional, which I'm absolutely baffled by. Like, I can understand the mediums, I can understand them. The hards I don't get. Then again, far be it from me to question the strategy of Danny Berezny.
Well, it's the Ironman League we're watching. Of course, maybe he's gone for the hardcore Ironman route here, putting on the hards, making his life very difficult. The slowest of the tyre compounds, usually there for going long into the stint, but only 12 laps left in this one, not 26 as I said earlier. And Danny Berezny is going to have it all to do. Now, up next, 10 seconds down the road, is Istvan Pukki. We'll see how quickly he closes down on him, but I felt like Brendan Lee would maybe cover off a move from Danny Berezny for a pair of mediums, but on those hards, I don't think he's going to do it. Istvan Pukki is going to pit, so he's going to drop behind, and let's see what he goes on to. If this is also a pair of hards, then my mind is blown, but I suspect it's not going to be, and it's a pair of softs, so complete polar opposites decisions on strategy there.
Yeah, and I'd much rather be on the soft. If I'm pitting, I want to be on those soft tyres. I don't know if we'll see Brendan Lee come into the pit lane and maybe go onto those softs, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm going to say I think for Brendan Lee, and particularly Brendan Lee, maybe less Ben Chavo-Conyi, I would definitely be leaning towards the idea, especially with Berezny going onto those hards, pit. Just get it over and done with. Cover it off. You've got like 11. It'll be 11 laps left to go. Just cover it off, whether it's onto the mediums or even onto the softs. Just cover it off.
Yeah, 13 seconds the gap between Bench's Abercrombie and Danny Beresny. If the Bench's Abercrombie pitted, he will fall down the order, but only down into 4th position, which would be ahead of Esteban Pukia, net in the same place where he was before Danny Beresny took that pit stop. But then, maybe onto a pair of soft tyres, he'd have something to battle with towards the end of the race. Certainly as they get towards 10 laps to go, that is a very solid amount of time that those softs will be good and proper for. Brendan Lee in 1st position, he's gone round. He's not pitted and trying to cover that off. He's just running his own race here. Benche Zabe Konye, is he going to follow your advice, Lewis? No, he doesn't. He goes around too. So quite comfortable on the tyres are on. They suspect they could get to the end, or maybe just want to go a couple of laps deeper before switching off of these tyres.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, interesting. I mean, clearly the tyres will be fine. Maybe Brendan Lee doesn't believe that he can pit and then once again clear Bench Darbo-Conye. Bench Darbo-Conye has no reason to maybe come into the pit lane right now because he's hoping that Brendan Lee does come into the pit lane, try to take that risk, maybe try and find himself that victory, because he's not going to do it on pace, courtesy of the gap between himself and Brendan Lee. At the moment, it's going to be the important bit for him though. It is going to be another podium for Bench Darbo-Conye. Yeah. How many has he had in the Ironman?
It'll be his 3rd this season alone, but he's absolutely stacked them up. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride here in the Ironman League, and he needs something to go disastrously wrong for Brendan Lee here to have any chance. Now, Danny Beresny, he's only closed down half a second, a little bit there. It's just not enough pace to close down and pass. And we do see a move Milan Meyer for 7th position, also keeping an eye out on that battle for the amateur field. Zdenek Gratsky, who currently leads on an older pair of medium tyres, is being closed down by where is he being closed down by? Has he just been, am I just getting... No, sorry, I'm getting really confused. Eisner is, of course, leading the amateur field. I can't even read down to 4. He's leading the amateur field on those mediums. He's going to have Istvan Pukki take it very quickly. He won't defend too much because actually the gap is about 10 seconds between Zdenek Gratsky and Eisner. It's the 2 AMSs at the start of the name that really confused me there. And yeah, he is he's really just looking at that gap coming down, and he's got to keep it to under a second a lap of losing pace there to keep hold of that position and take overall take class win, for the amateur field.
I think Zdenek Gratsky has been closing in an awful lot, to be perfectly honest. Istvan Pukki sets the fast lap of the race number 32.3, so absolutely flying at the moment. To give you a little bit of references, Brendan Lee, by the way, has been into the pit lane.
Yeah, look at that.
And it is to go onto the softs.
So he's got 2 seconds pace in front of Danny Beresny on those hards. 6 seconds to close down on Benche Zabe-Conye. 8 seconds is the gap between 1st and 3rd position. Now, Benche Zabe-Conye leads the race in the Ironman League, not for the first time, but he's never won at all. And look at that, just waiting behind that lapped car, perfectly timed. He'll get DRS from that because the activation zone is on the entry of turn 13. So he'll have a little DRS pop-up, and even though that car is actually completely out of this one, he's lapped. So yeah, he falls down the order and gets DRS. So just hanging back a little bit there, a little bit of nous there from the pro driver.
Do you know what, though? He's not winning this race.
No?
No. Brendan Lee is flying. He took, in that middle sector alone, which obviously is where all the corners are, fair enough, he took like a second and a bit out in the middle sector. And again, he's closed down even half a second over those final few corners. That's not a shock, by the way. You're talking about medium tyres that have done 20 or so laps versus brand new soft tyres. This lap will be a fastest lap from Brendan Lee, and my prediction is he will pass next lap. That is how quick he is catching Bench Darbo-Conye.
So taking chunks out of the race leader. Now the interesting thing will be those hards versus mediums.
Yeah.
I mean, even Danny Beresny is closing that gap down quite considerably. So that delta closing in even more, and those tyres just getting towards the end of their workable life. I said they're a decent tyre for around 20 laps, early 20s. They start to really go off that cliff. We'll reach that in the next few laps. He'll probably hold on to the podium, but he didn't decide to pit. He didn't decide to cover off the likes of Danny Beresny. Probably maybe regrets that now, seeing that Brendan Lee has pitted onto those soft tyres. 2.2 seconds is the gap as we head down the long straight towards turn 14 for the 48th tour here of the Shanghai International Circuit. And look at that, closing and closing. It's around those very limited corners that you actually make the most gain, because you have so much more confidence to push early, especially the second snail that leads on to this back straight.
Yeah, so like I say, my prediction was a pass next lap. Depends on how many mistakes, if any, Brendan Lee makes. He's been almost perfect today. I don't know, the Berezne one's the more interesting one. If Brendan Lee doesn't pass up the race, no one's particularly shocked by that. Danny Berezne, I think he might get close to Bench Abercrombie, but at the moment I'm not feeling like he's going to pass Bench Abercrombie. I think those hard tyres might be a little bit too much of a struggle. I did, by the way, ask in his chat. Obviously, I can't hear what he said, but did get the response that it was 100% intended for Berezne to have gone onto the hards.
I just do not
ask
understand
why.
But does he not have another pair? Maybe he went on a different balance or aggressive, or yeah, very, very interesting.
Terrified.
Very interesting. But Brendan Lee right on the back of Bench's Abercrombie and could even make a move before we reach the long straight. Let's see how long he decides to wait by. 4 seconds is the gap to Danny Berezne, so he has a little bit of breathing room, but I think he may even just peel out of the stream. No, he just sticks right behind there, picks a little bit of an earlier braking zone to not chop off that front wing. We'll get the DRS and we'll pull away here and take the lead of this race with only 6 laps, 6 and a bit laps remaining here. And it is, there we are, a move already done out of the corner. Such is the strength of those tyres. He'll have DRS, and we can see that Haas behind, a little bit of bump drafting too, to try and improve the speed of both of them. Bench's Abercrombie really does not want to fight with Brendan Lee, hasn't fought with Brendan Lee, because Danny Berezne is just behind, and the man who won round 1, came second in round 2, will not want to finish in third here.
Yeah, his understanding is Bench Abercrombie that, look, the fight for the victory is basically over, but let's not lose second place. This is more now about keeping Danny Berezne at bay, and so we'll keep our eye on that. Gap 3.7 seconds. That is the important one to focus down on. Speaking of gaps coming down, yeah, Shane Garatsky is flying right now.
Yep, on those mediums. And the good thing now with that he has gone onto those mediums, that as he gets closer, he's still got a lot of playable life in them. So 3.2 seconds is the gap with 6 laps to go. It's very much doable there for the Williams man to grab his first win of the season. Of course, way involved with the first race. He actually crossed over the line in first, I believe, in Belgium in his amateur class, just lost it due to penalties, and it could be a bit of redemption here in Shanghai on the banks of the Yangtze River Delta. And yeah, very, very interesting 2 conclusions of championships here. 2 conclusions of the race in the 2 respective championships. Sorry, Brendan Lee looks to have got and clinched his first win in the Ironman League. He only has 6 more laps of running to do it. But will Danny Berezne catch, and will he pass? And the same applies to Zdeněk Garatsky and Eisner, as we see Zoltan Boda retire from the session. And is that going to be early enough for a safety car to be called here? That is going to be super interesting. We do have 6 laps of running left, and that could turn this all up on its head.
No call yet of the safety car, be it virtual or legit. But that caution does remain out. A big shame for the McLaren. Was it done in pit lane? You see, now if we had the track map, we'd be able to tell.
If only we've got the track map, isn't it? Hoist by our own petard. We have been done. To be honest, I did actually have a track map earlier on my telemetry. Should we get the track map up for the last few laps? Go on then.
If you can do it mid-broadcast, we'll have to wait and see.
We've got the track map. There we are. It was a retirement in pit lane. That car's come back out. 100%.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Beautiful.
I see.
Beautiful F123. F124 coming to a store near you soon. Yeah, Brendan Lee is in the lead this one. Look at that. Bench's Abercrombie hasn't exactly been distanced here, managing to keep up. Now, is Brendan Lee doing a little bit of a science game and trying to keep a little bit of pace behind in those softs and keep Bench's Abercrombie behind to string him along, give him DRS, and create a bit of a differential between Danny Berezne and Brendan Lee? Of course, the Ferrari's way in the lead of the championship. They have 72 points to their name compared to 42 points for the McLaren. The Alfa Romeo is only with 34 points. Is this a little bit of tactics, or is this genuine pace from Xavier Cognier?
I think there's a little bit of controlling it from Brendan Lee, but I don't think like it's anything too crazy. I think he's just trying to maybe like make sure that he's still got the soft tyres for later on in the race. Maybe he wants to go and push for the fastest lap again with a couple of. He's not going to be able to do that, I don't think. But I don't know. Maybe there's something about trying to keep Danny Perez at bay. I think if there's more pace in that car, I think he would want to use it to try and make sure that he can pull a gap on Beresnay. But maybe there is also fear of the soft tyres dropping off over the final few laps. It's kind of like use this time now to control it whilst you've got a bit of a buffer. I don't know. I think there's more at play than just pace, right? Because as Ben Ocon on those really old, worn mediums, I just don't see him be able to keep up with Brendan Lee right now.
Zeno Gratsky, in the meantime, goes around the outside of Eisner for the race lead in the amateur category. But look at that, Zeno Gratsky, 3 seconds worth of time penalties. So the work isn't done for him. He's picked up an extra infraction, and now he needs to push on and create 3 seconds worth of gap. He was clever with where he overtook there. He didn't go for a spectacular lunge into turn 14. He just backed off the pace, knowing that he had the pace to take him down the start-finish straight, and now he will look to pull away. Eisner will do anything to claw his way back into that DRS zone, stay within a second of the car in front, not lose out on that pace differential here. But Zeno Gratsky will look to extend, and look at that, 8 tenths, 9 tenths is the gap. This is the important moment for this battle. If he can extend that over the second going into turn 13, surely Zeno Gratsky will have the pace to claw another 2 seconds out. And there we are. I think that's job done from the Williams driver. He's got to keep that on the island, and it will be part of the game. But look at that. Brendan Lee now is 1.5 seconds ahead of Benche Sabe-Cognier. I think he was just trying to give him as much of a tow as possible to defend from Danny Beresnay. But Danny Beresnay, on those hard tyres, a strategy we both questioned but purposeful, is now right on the back of the man who didn't pit on those medium tyres, and they are quite considerably older.
Yeah, Brendan Lee's just checking out now. He is using the full grip. He did a 34.1 on the previous lap. His personal best wasn't that long ago, was a 32.3. There's a look down the inside, a little bit too deep though from Beresnay. The up and under going to come from Ben Charbot-Cognier, but he's not going to have the grip to hang it around the high side though, coming round here. And so Danny Beresnay will put his way into second position once again, trying to go for the up and under. Beresnay now going for a big centre around the outside is Ben Charbot-Cognier. Once again, it's covered off from Beresnay. Fantastic battle between the pair of them, but surely Ben Charbot-Cognier hasn't got the grip as he comes straight back through.
Yeah, and I think he's just slowing down Danny Beresnay, knowing that the DRS down the straight will be more important. So I think that was a little bit of DRS chicken, and much as I hate the phrase, and Danny Beresnay will have DRS down the main straight and down towards turn 14, will give himself a proper opportunity to overtake, and he maybe felt that he was losing too much time in the battle to Benche Sabe-Cognier, as the gap has extended 5.6 seconds to Brendan Lee. But look, the farthest inside, the extreme inside, Sabe-Cognier trying to make it as hard as possible for that Ferrari to overtake, and the Ferrari goes a little bit deep. He's going to have a bit of an undercut and switch up the inside. These two really trading positions, great battling from the two, and it is going to be Danny Beresnay right on the back of the Haas once again down the start finish straight. This is going to be crucial. If he can get ahead now, surely he'll gap him, and the DRS is open and he's pulled away. But look at that, I think he's just having fun with it, to be honest, at this point, because he's right back at it. Around the outside goes Benche Sabe-Cognier, really just slowing it down and putting on a battle, putting on a show for the two, slowing it down out of this corner. And what are these two doing? What is he doing? Go on.
It's Danny Beresnay slowing him down so Esteban Pucci can get by.
Right, okay. Surely that goes under the bracket of it's round 3, it's early on in the season.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, it's fine, though. I can say it this time because I won't get so much hatred because it's not Jarno Opmeer. But it is still true. I'm not a huge fan of it. But all Beresnay's doing is he's slowing down Ben Charbot-Cognier, who actually it was Ben Charbot, it was Jarno Opmeer slowing Ben Charbot-Cognier down at Interlagos. It's working. It is slowing him down, and Esteban Pucci will be there. It's just a bit.
Do you know what I'd do if I was Benche Sabe-Cognier? I'd just
intentionally wreck him.
Yeah, I'd just punt him out of the way. No. I'd say if you want to play that game, then let's go all over to Lawrence and Thomas Ronhaar from last week.
Ben Charbot-Cognier is a good boy.
He's got honour. He's got honour, you're saying, and I don't have honour. But yeah, right, okay, being slowed down. This is exactly it. I thought it was just having a bit of fun with it. But you're right, Esteban Pukki right behind and trying to grab as many points for the team's championship we have in the Ironman League here. And it's a sad day really. 10 seconds is a gap. He already recognised Brendan Lee was off and away. Lap 55 it is. And Danny Beresny goes back through again. But it's even hard to commentate, isn't it? Because really, realistically, you're not commentating a real battle. You're commentating something quite manufactured and slowed down, and Benches Aberconye is just getting pulled into it. 2.7 seconds is the gap between these two. I think Pukki could catch, but it would be quite nice to see Benches Aberconye get both of them at the end somehow. That's what you really want, some kind of karma.
Absolutely. I've never been more a fan of Benches Aberconye. By the way, it's not me saying that I hate Danny Beresny, because I definitely don't. And whilst I understand it's a team's championship, I understand what you're doing. I do always say that when you're in an enormous lead in the championship, you should absolutely mess over all of your competitors to make sure that even bigger lead becomes even bigger. But that's fine, whatever. It's just a bit unsportsmanly is all. But Benches Aberconye is going to show his worth in all of this. And maybe he'll be able to clear his way past the pair of them. Maybe they'll trip over each other. I don't know. But I'm going to put on my Benches Aberconye cap and shirt.
I didn't know he had all the merch
and shoes. If he doesn't, I'm making it, and I'm putting it all on.
You're going on Cafe Press. You're printing some off. You're getting it sent over. And for lap 56, we're all Benches Aberconye fans as he looks to stay off the fight from the two Ferraris, two Scarlet Ferraris, third and fourth position at the moment. Danny Beresny has slowed down Benches Aberconye over the last 3 laps and given Esteban Pukki, last week's winner and the first week's winner, both an opportunity to be on the podium here as Brendan Lee has checked out for surely his first win. And there we are, look, Danny Beresny now ahead of Benches Aberconye, and it's now up to Esteban Pukki to get by him too, while Danny Beresny slows him down as much as possible. It's going to be supreme defensive driving from the Hassman to keep Esteban Pukki behind.
I think now Danny Beresny, he would be wise to check out now to try and build that gap to allow Esteban Pukki like the DRS and such. If he tries to remain in the battle, then maybe it's going to go a bit sideways. There's a bit of a squeeze, bit of a lock up as well coming in from Benches Aberconye. The up and under coming from Esteban Pukki, who will get to the outside coming up towards the fast left-hander, straight around the outside, soft tyres and better aged tyres. Easy as you like.
Yeah, and a little bit unsteady on the inside of the corner. In fact, dipping a wheel onto the curbing, making it super loose for Benches Aberconye, and he's going to have to struggle to stay within DRS of the cars ahead. But look at that battery flashing. He's not going to have anything to go back on the offensive with. And of course, Esteban Pukki will have DRS on his teammate. Now, I don't think he'll be attacking his teammate down into turn 1. But remember, Brendan Lee has been absolutely spectacular today as the 2-time F1 Esports champion looks to pick up his first ever win in the Ironman League and give a big jolt to the Alfa Romeo team as he slows it down, spins it over the line, and it's been a superb performance. But Danny Beresny and Esteban Pukki have maintained that lead, and Benches Aberconye, I think, has had a spin out at the final snail here, and he's not going to lose 4th position to Zvezda Guratsky, as I think he may do. Look at that, he's going super slowly. I think he may be a little bit annoyed with the antics of the Ferrari. Oh
yeah,
no,
has he just hit escape?
Yeah, maybe he's actually quit out this one. So will he get the points for that one? Because everyone must finish. That's one rule I know.
He's still 4th. He's still 4th. Although to be fair, after the whole last few laps there, you can imagine how frustrating that would have been for Benches Aberconye. Like I say, it's not that Danny Beresny didn't do anything illegal
it's good tactics.
Or dangerous. It is
you
good
can't fault the tactics.
Absolutely not. I just feel it's unsportsmanlike.
Yes. Right. Sterling Moss wouldn't be going around doing that back in the 50s, would he? No, he goes and chalks himself up to the stewards and says that other things, remove other people's penalties, give them the championship. So yeah, it's just not very gentlemanly, let's say.
Exactly.
So anyway, we do have Sven Ogratsky who wins.
There is £1 billion up for this. That's what I know.
Yes, £1 billion in Monopoly money, I think.
Exactly.
Get that delivered. We stole it from a Securicar about 15 years ago. Yeah, I mean, a very interesting race in the end there. Brendan Lee getting his first win in the Ironman League. We'll be able to talk to him after as well. Danny Beresny and Esteban Pukki. Maybe we can give him a bit of a rollicking in the interview for it. They're going to win this championship, surely. I'm sorry, guys at home.
Easily.
They're so far ahead at this point. Like, that is big points. But they they will not take no for an answer until that championship is done. They won't hold back, right? And I guess that is very, championship mentality. Really, that's a fantastic way to go about it. But come on, give us a little bit of a show.
It would be like Man City against, I don't know, Middlesbrough, and they're 9-0 up, and they still just go. We could give them one. Nah, we're just going to go score another one. Nah, we're just going to go score another one. No, it's fine. 9's not enough. You know what I mean? It is that kind of vibe. There's a point where it's just sort of like, just stop scoring.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And there we are, podium celebrations. We'll skip by them because we've all seen them about 1,000 times. It is Brendan Lee who wins today from Danny Beresny and Istvan Pukki. A 12-second gap in the end because of Benche Sabikonye being really just hustled off of that podium. The Haasman probably showing his frustration by leaving right at the end of that race. Milan Mayer in 5th position, Zdeno Gruatsky in 6th, Eisner in 7th, Shanaka Clay 8th, Valant Elekis in 9th position, decent drive from him, Tamas Gal in 10th, Benche Illes in 11th position, and I should say Zdeno Gruatsky actually won the amateur category. David Vinitzer in 12th, Timbo for 13th, Tamas Auertz in 14th, Tiertik is in 15th. Hegelis, last week's winner in the amateur category, only as high as 16th position here. Boris is in 17th position. Badger Gabo, another bad week for him. He's down in 18th. Eric Jandy in 19th. And 20th place, Zoltan Boda, the only person to DNF. And I don't think he'll get the points because he did not cross the line. And that's a very important rule. You must cross the line to get those points. So, interesting day, and we can go back over actually to our intermission screen and say hello to our beautiful faces if they're all still connected. Look, there we are. We're back in the room.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't. I think it's the beautiful faces part, which is the bit that's most questionable.
Look, I own my beautiful face. Do you know what I mean? This is a big modelling career is upcoming with this one. I'm sure.
That is true. I've not had my makeup done for this podcast. It's not high enough level. I don't have someone come around and like just chuck some powder in my face, which genuinely does happen.
People chuck powder in your face. That's usually some kind of assault, I think.
I am not joking.
Really?
Yeah, when you're doing like an esports gig and you're like in person or whatever, it'll be like a slight bit where they're doing an interview with someone and someone will come round with what is basically a coffee cup with a brush in it, and they literally just go bam, 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 and it's like, right, you're back live. I'm like, oh my god, jeez,
get rid of that sweat.
Brendan has not joined the right channel, by the way. He's terrified of joining the Waiting for Interview channel. He would rather sit in voice chat 1. So he's just chatting to himself.
I mean, I could pull him in. I can pull him in straight away.
You go for it, mate.
Absolutely.
You have a little chat with Big Bad Brendan. It's fine.
There we are. Yeah, Brendan Lee. We pulled you over. We did see you in Waiting for Interview. We just presumed you'd gone into the wrong room. But congratulations on your first win in the Ironman League. How does it feel to be a race winner?
First of all, did I just get called Big Bad Brendan?
Yeah, you did.
Well, I mean, that's tough of you to put on like the Christmas card signing list. But no, it felt very good. There's been a lot of issues with my rig over the last few weeks, what affected other leagues, but today I did a lot of stuff. What fixed it, so for this I'm happy.
Can you give us an insight of what you've changed to make your performance go up? Because it's 2 6th places in the Ironman League over the first 2 rounds, and then you were just unstoppable today.
I don't want to go all into detail, to be honest, because it was very significant and actually something that I'm surprised has this much effect. But I did a bit of researching a bit more in depth about center of masses and physics and changed a bit on the rig and, yeah, a bit of DIY, you know?
Wow, so adjustments to your setup have given you, I mean, a huge bout of pace, really, today. Like, you were pretty, stable throughout all of the periods. Of course, we had that wet period early on. You decided to stay out on those pair of intermediates. No thought of changing to a pair of wets and inters later on?
I thought about it, but Bent's kind of went. And because I was sort of in a position where I was quite fortunate, to be honest, that I had like a 5-second gap and was building well, Shanaka, I think, had the disconnect. It gave me like a 7-second gap over Beresny at the end of the story. So I had a lap to react to everyone, basically. So I didn't really have to risk it. I saw Bent went in. No one else reacted, so I was like, cool. At worst, then I'm just losing one position, and it's risk versus reward. So in summary, no, in the end. Bent did all the hard work for me in that situation.
And towards the end of the race, we actually saw you overtake Benche Sabikonye, but then back off a little bit. Was that to try and give Benche the best opportunity to get down the road and away from those attacking Ferraris?
Yeah, no, exactly. Of course, there's no hard feelings. I love Beresne. He's a fantastic guy. Bence is in the same agency with me, RHE. So I saw Bence wanted to work together when I came behind him on the soft tire, so I thought, why not? I saw eventually Beresne was catching up, it's going to be inevitable, so then I decided to pull away. But yeah, it was just me and Bence get on really well behind the scenes, at least from my side. I don't want to comment on his side. But no, he's a cool guy and he deserves to have good results.
Yeah, so not quite able to stay on the podium thanks to you, but good to see that cross teamwork across part of the same RHG agency. I guess final question really is around the championship. You gained 25 points today, but of course no Thomas Ronhard teammate today. He was replaced by someone who didn't score many points in the championship, and actually you lose ground to Ferrari because they got second and third on the podium. How realistic do you see are your championship prospects here with just 5 rounds left in the series?
Honestly, I have no idea. I'd love to be able to give a really in-depth and detailed answer to that. But I think the truth is, of course, Beresne, Pookie are really fast, intelligent drivers as well. And this is a really fantastic league. It's really fantastically set up internally, externally as well, the show that you guys put on. But I think as well for someone like myself and Thomas, Beresne, Pookie, Bence as well, and pretty much all the esports drivers at least, it's a bit of fun in the meantime before we go back to quotation work. So yeah, I think the championship can swing depending who just shows up, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, I tell you, we'll let you go, and congratulations on your win again. Just quickly, any of the tracks that are left, which track do you hope it to be next week?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually don't know what tracks are there. I think Miami will be a bit of fun. That'll be a good challenge actually.
Lewis disapproves heavily.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the reason I say Miami is we have just as realistic of a harbour in the game as we do in real life.
That's true. Good
Yeah.
response.
Yeah. That's one reason to love Miami.
It is genuinely the most true to life track in any of sim racing. In that sense.
It's just as fake.
Perfection in F1 23. Well, brilliant to have you in the booth, and of course congratulations again on your win and your points for Alfa Romeo. I would move other people in, but actually we haven't got anyone else. But Danny Beresne and Istvan Pookie clearly fuming with the rollicking that I suggested we give them.
They were scared.
That's it. They're scared. They're scared of some bold geezer from England. So maybe we're too critical. Maybe maybe we'll get some comments. Who knows? We'll see later on. But I mean, a very very interesting race overall. Of course, builds that championship gap for Ferrari. But with 5 rounds left, there's still everything to play for in the amateur division. There's still, as Brendan says, a chance of people not turning up and the championship turning on its head because the reserve just doesn't have the pace of the people who are normally there. So, I mean, a lot to look forward to here, Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. It was an interesting interview there with Brendan. I mean, I had a good chat with him when we were in Sweden, and we had a great chat about rigs and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised he's made some changes. Hopefully, be able to carry that pace into those sort of future rounds. And as long as he exactly wasn't slow before, was he? But yeah, you never really know. Let's be honest, like I say, Ferrari, they're the dominant force here, and they're likely to just clear off and take the championship. Fair enough, is what it is. But it's all about the battle for second position in the pro category, and to be fair, that battle in the amateur category, which I'm pretty sure will be exciting. I hope we don't get Miami. Sorry, Brendan. Literally anywhere else, please. Anywhere.
And there's a chance that we won't have Miami because, of course, at some point, I don't know if it's this week or next week or whenever, 2 mystery Grand Prix will be added to the tracks that could be selected. And we'll just have a quick reminder at what tracks those are. We do have Singapore that we've already raced, Shanghai that we've already raced, and Spa that we've already raced. But we have Melbourne, Miami, and Imola and Red Bull Ring. that have yet to be raced, as well as that mystery figure of 8 circuit. Who could think what that is going to be?
Which circuit has got a figure of 8 in Whoa!
Oh, is it crazy? What circuit could that be? I think it could be Mario Kart 8 Mario Circuit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the zero gravity. Let's see how Danny Beresny does there. So, yeah, that sounded really aggressive. Let's see how Danny Beresny does on Mario Kart Circuit. To be honest, I think I could compete quite well on a Mario Kart Championship. But yourself, Lewis, you a Mario Karter? No.
Okay. I'm trying to think of the things that I would be able to compete with this field on.
Golf?
I think not on a course, I don't think, because I'm still pretty sure that someone might still beat me. If we did a long drive competition, I could compete in that.
Okay.
I hit ball hard.
Okay, is that most of your tactic? Hit ball hard, hope for best.
My fastest drive is 192 miles an hour. I'll have you know.
That sounds impressive, but I don't know what a bad drive is, to be honest. So I've never hit that speed in a car.
I'll tell you, it's pretty quick.
Well, I tell you what, before we deviate too far off topic, let's just wrap this one up. I want to know, Lewis, where we can find you when you're not commentating here for this league.
Either Lewis McGlade78 on social media or Lewis McGlade here on YouTube.
Yep, and I have been Gareth Allen TV. You can find me on all the social media gubbins with that name. Also, GarethAllen.tv, the website. There's also the WOR League website, socials above on Twitter and YouTube, and there's a Discord as well you can join. And we've got loads of leagues of racing, and obviously the PC tiers I think start kicking off pretty soon as well. So absolutely subscribe to us if you haven't already, and watch across all the racing. Next week we will be back. Where we will be, we don't know, but the Ferraris will look to be in dominant form once again, getting another podium. I think that's 3 sets of podiums so far in this league, and it'll be very exciting. We'll hope to see you there. Until we see you again, goodbye.